Hello, good afternoon. Welcome to the second BioEconomy and BioInnovation Conference on natural fiber plants. Today we will discuss cultivation, industrial usage, and economical and ecological value add of industrial hemp. Our program starts now and will finish by 5 p.m. Central European Time and consists of two sessions in two different platforms. In the first session, we will discuss three subjects: hemp cultivation and processing, textiles and composites from hemp, institutional research on and value of hemp economies. On the second part, there will be a generic Q&A session on Google Meet. You may use the link on video details on YouTube to log in. We would like to thank you all for sparing the time today. Now, to make their opening remarks, I would like to leave the floor to Zehra Doruk, the co-founder of ScienceCop, and then Ercüment Degidiben, the co-founder of Industrial Hemp Platform, and then Mark Reinders. So now, Zehra, the floor is yours.
Sorry for the interruption because my microphone is on mute. I start from the beginning from my speech. Really sorry. Yes, okay, everything's okay right now. Hello again. Welcome to our second Bioeconomy and BioInnovation Conference. I'm Zehra Doruk, the coordinator of the Bioeconomy and BioInnovation Conferences and the co-founder of BioEconomy and Open Innovation Association. We organize this conference together with BioEconomy, Open Innovation Association, and Industrial Hemp Platform. We had our first conference on March 26, where we talked about natural fiber plants in general. Today we are going to deep dive into industrial hemp as one of the natural fiber plants. Today we have treasured speakers and listeners. Thank you for participating in our event. and being with us. And special thanks to Ercüment, an industrial hemp platform, for their valuable efforts to realize this conference program, including valuable speakers around the world on industrial hemp. Before moving on to our speakers, let me briefly explain why we started organizing this event series and our motivation. We all know that natural resources are limited and our vital natural sources are under threat as a direct result of the climate crisis. Still, we continue to consume our world and our future. We have to think and work together for a fairer and sustainable future. We must develop sustainable primary production and processing systems that will produce less environmental impact. We believe that we can achieve a transition towards the rational use of our vital natural sources only through science, technology, design, cooperation, and collaboration. We know that bioeconomy and bioinnovation offers unique opportunities to meet growing food and other industry demands. Bioeconomy is a very broad field that covers primary production areas such as agriculture and forestry, and industries such as food, textile, paper, construction that thrive on biological resources. In this conference series, Science Scope, in Turkish Bilim Kop, we focus on various areas of bioeconomy in order to raise awareness and draw attention to opportunities in these fields. So, if you would like to listen directly from manufacturers, developers, scientists, engineers, and designers about fairer and more innovative production methods using less water, less fertilizer, less raw materials, and less energy, and if you would like to share your own experience, you are most welcome to our monthly Bioeconomy and BioInnovation conferences. In our upcoming event, we will discuss industrial forestry plantation and biomass production methods. We haven't clarified the exact date of our next event yet. Tentatively, it will be in late June. The exact dates will be announced from our social media accounts. Thank you for joining us. Have a nice day. Thank you. Okay. Banu, stage is yours.
So now we will listen from Ercüment. Ercüment, are you ready?
I'm ready. Hello.
Hello.
Okay. Hello, everybody. I'm connecting today from Çankaya Hill in Ankara, Turkey. And I would like to welcome everybody who's joining our conference today. And I'm very happy that we could make this conference in the way we planned it. Unfortunately, there are some persons missing because it's we find out that we have to prepare this conference on a longer term. So I think the next conference will be much more interesting for all of us. But this is also a conference that has a lot of interesting persons who are dealing with hemp. So at first, I would like to say this. We all have to stop being a fossil fuel junkie. The war in Ukraine showed us what kind of dependency we are in, and with our lives built on fossil energy. If we stop our dependency, we stop the killing in the Ukraine much faster, and it's one major step to stop the killing of our habitat. This makes me feel disappointed with the responsibility that we had given to those who are elected to administrate our world. The dynamics of change is the transformation of globalization to a different understanding in its meaning. We should globalize the ideas and visions of a fair and sustainable economic life. With the age of information technology, ideas flying around in seconds from point to point on our nice habitat. So again, is the claim of thinking global in times of climate change to act and live more than ever local, in regional and local clusters. Local until we get over to the transformation we're willing and have to make this change happen. Remember, the last 2 years we had to wear masks that dominate our life, and I think a frame that showed us that we have to change certain things we live. This is just the challenge of transformation, and with each change we will transform the way we used to live for our children and the next generation to come. Thank you for joining us today. Talking about hemp, I'm not going to give you a tutorial about how to roll a joint, but more the potential of the Swiss Army knife that is one of the useful tool in our human pocket for thousands of years. Time is overdue, and we are the smartest creature on this planet. We are acting in case of emergency. We have to remind that us that before the pandemic years, we had cities around the world announcing the climate emergency state. There is a growing emergency on planet Earth. We made it, and we have to get out of it. With the macro of opportunities that hemp offers, we should keep focused on 5 tools of the Swiss Army knife first. The tools are food and feed, textile, paper, construction, and composite, all put in a scrap of alternative energy to produce value-added sustainable goods to change our life for a better living. The Turkish Industrial Hemp Platform is a think tank, shaped to investigate application possibilities of industrial hemp for the industrial use. For more than 8 years, we share and develop our knowledge and experience with our members, aiming to produce all hemp products, starting from the hemp plant cultivation, harvesting, industrial processing, to deliver products to the industry that process raw materials and semi-raw materials for a value-added product. The aim to create a market for industrial hemp as a renewable material for industrial production is our goal. For this reason, we work with national and international institutes and research groups. With the Turkish Industrial Hemp Platform and Doğatek AŞ, our trade solution partner in Turkey, we try to shape a 360-degree network base in Turkey to approach the use of hemp in a sustainable manner. Amy Ansell said in a TED Talk in October 2019, hemp is the green buffalo. The Native Americans use every single part of the buffalo. Nothing was left unused. Our production range is focused on every single part product, including the absorbed carbon as well. Helping to establish the integration of hemp products in the current industrial production line with guiding specialists if needed is our service. We are pleased with the high demand for the industry for renewable natural raw materials that make industrial hemp a hot topic in this field. I'm convinced that with more efficiency in the process and application of hemp products, we can cross the boundaries that are facing us now. I see the transition to unfold the sustainable industry laying in the fundamental change of the material and quality to lead to more ecological and economic results. The transition will lead to a reduction of costs as we do not waste our nature to evoke prosperity and life-caring values. In 2021, the OECD has reported a covered insurance damage in material value estimated of approximately $600 billion. We can and should not measure the deaths. They left great gaps in our memories of those who they left behind. All these losses could and can be avoided if we stop our greediness in growing prosperity. If we stop unbalanced growth, we have a chance to grow on an economy without ruining other lives. The sun gives us unlimited power. It is the source of energy and powers to grow hemp and other bio-based materials. The nice thing about hemp is it gives you multiple solutions to support in one go. Here are two samples of multiple solutions. Shives or herds, as the wooden chip part is called, are the perfect material source because they have a high fire protection and insulation classification. Construction with shives will build and insulate our housing in more energy efficient ways. With smart methods, we can transform the old structure and shape the keystone to a more sustainable building sector. Carbon negative product is the natural way as a geoengineering tool. As you know, hemp has many advantages compared to other renewable raw materials. Cultivation is trouble-free, successful in any dry, nutrition-poor soils, and does not require the use of chemicals due to the predominant scent produced from the hemp plant itself. We plan to harvest and transport with the carbon-neutral power sources. Further processing is resource saving and does not contain CO2, and depending on the manufacturing process and supply chain, together it counts as CO2 negative product. Energy for production will be sourced by solar, wind, and smart alternative power sources. The aim to produce negative carbon products to slow down the effect of climate change, a change that accelerates faster than expert prognosis. Tico Mola, hemp can be one of several tools to heal the world. This is one of the base to the next step of negative carbon products. They are needed to make the U-turn before we end up in the catastrophe that we are facing at the minute. At this time, we are, according to the IPCC calculation, at the time point 7 years, 2 months, 14 days left to the point of no return. That means if we all do not limit the temperature increase to 1.5 degrees in the time span left, we will go much more painfully the way the dinosaur did. More pain than we already seen the last year and the years before. As you may know, the campaigning during World War II, like Hemp for Victory, used on all sides in time of emergencies. Hemp has started with a disadvantage of -2 points. And again, at the end of the 20th century, the fossil fuel lobby dominated life, shaping the minds worldwide. Nearly every region in the world has been influenced by the Anglo-American wrong image. CBD was the booster to bring cannabis sativa L back in memory of the public in the 2020s. But still, there are embedded opponents in this sector. There is a group of gold miners think they can make fast and easy money. Even worse are those, we call them the greenwashers. They claim to do something ecological, actually just washing their souls green by buying themselves out with plant treat vouchers when they stop by at the gas station to fill up their SUV tanks. But conventional energy companies, like the one with the seafood logo, have been punished to do more than green pretending campaigns. They have to reduce their carbon by 45% to the values compared from 2015 to until 2030. So they may make it from red, yellow to blue, green in time. What can we do? How does hemp leaf unfold? How does the hemp leaf unfold in Turkey? In 2019, I was invited by the Turkish President's office as an industrial consultant and speaker person of the Turkish Industrial Platform to the first Industrial Hemp State Conference to talk about hemp and its industrial use and advantages. At the time, we already started research on producing new and progressive hemp products. Unfolding the leaf of hemp in Turkey works as everywhere else under controlled farming. except that you can harvest hemp 2 to 3 times per year in some areas of Turkey. However, you have to work against the embedded enemy of hemp as everywhere else. There are opponents that are obviously against hemp, whom we are avoiding. Those who pretend to support the movement and knowingly or not knowingly harm the sector still exist for more than 70 years in Turkey and worldwide. Turkey was influenced wrongly, and there was and is a belief in the public that hemp is something illegal. In January 2019, the announcement of the Turkish president has got back hemp's reputation as a traditional crop. Hemp had not been forbidden before 2019. That is a fairy tale, as Turkey never stopped the cultivation of hemp in history, and Atatürk has strongly supported its production. Atatürk's successors made the regulation stricter and made it harder to produce biomass and the possibility to process the plant, which vanished with the dominance of the petrochemical products, as nearly everywhere else. Nevertheless, Turkish farmers and consumers have a long tradition with hemp-based food and fiber products. Robert Clark, who traveled and worked in Turkey for several years and helped the last hemp strains and populations of Turkey to survive, hemp is still in the memory of the older generation, and it is a good chance to get back on the hemp track. It's nice and seldom in our near past that prime ministers and presidents are advocates for hemp, as Trudeau in Canada and Erdogan in Turkey. However, the Turkish administration unfortunately has more than one dynamic in its second lines, and a lack of unity at the moment to see the potential of hemp and the advantages in our current time. Not to know the difference between cannabis sativa indica and cannabis sativa L is one thing, but the interpretation of a WHO CND voting result in opposite meaning is another counterproductive dynamic causing irritations. It is very challenging to take action, but we overcome what seems to be impossible and convince the naysayers. The Turkish textile industry, for instance, is the 6th largest worldwide and ranked 3rd in Europe by numbers in 2020. In 2019, for instance, the textile industry exported 17.7 million US dollars, of which 3/4 went to the European market. The European market grown closer to the Turkish textile sector in the pandemic because of the transformation in the market, which increases the markets who are seeking for a closer supply chain. At the same time, life cycle assessment and the echoes of the Green Deal initiative are about to set points. How will this shape the trade of Europe for tomorrow? As Turkey is established as a bio cotton producer and dependent on imports of conventional cotton and petrochemical fibers, in 2019, with more than 5 billion US dollars imports of raw material, it stands face to face with a big challenge. Please let us remember that cotton is the dirtiest plant on this world. Turning the green lights does not mean you have a sustainable product. In 2021, more than 90% of the used hemp fiber dominating the Turkish market for the demanded production is Chinese originated and does not meet the demands of the European market. A French premium clothing company with a animal logo has rejected Chinese hemp for their products because it does not meet the standards in quality, health standards, and does not fulfill sustainable goals with such long supply chains. The entrance fee to the European market will be measured with the tax ticket according to the carbon footprint and environmental impact of their products. The Turkish industry has to be has to be prepared to the new conditions, and they now are hard working to do so. The alarm bells start ringing yesterday, and now the changes start their effects. The challenge for the Turkish textile research and development is to get to the local textile hemp to the local textile industry, so they can meet the high quality that Turkish textiles always delivered in the past and fulfill the European Green Deal parameters in the future. The results of research studies have shown enormous water saving compared to cotton production of the same quality and at least equal and higher in end product properties. While these production methods are being tried and tested to the processing of hemp in the ready-made clothing industry has only recently come to the fore. In the middle of 2021, fashion chain C&A launched an internal initiative to research hemp as a replacement for cotton. As a result, under the lead of Doğatech and the support of the Turkish industrial hemp platform, the Hemp Fiber 21 project has been launched in Turkey with partners from Germany, Italy, and Hungary. The aim of this project is to weave 100% hemp fiber yarn into fabrics at the start of 2023. From that point in time, we intend to scale production up to replace cotton and petrochemical-based fibers. There are other industry parts, like the automotive industry has been using insulation and paneling made of hemp for several years on composite forms. Hemp chives are used as a cellulose supply in the paper industry. We successfully carried out tests in 2018 together with specialists from the leading Turkish forest faculty. The application is now ready for the industrial production process. In home construction, the demand of hemp-based building materials is increasing day by day. The hemp market is growing. With short steps, as energy efficiency is a big stake of avoiding greenhouse gases, hempcrete out of chives is a convenient and efficient CO2 negative product. It is a CO2 produced product that helps reducing CO2. Another important issue is the food production from hemp seeds. One special example is the Bremen-based QSE laboratory of the Tentamus laboratory group in Germany. It makes it possible to determine precisely the cannabinoid content of a natural hemp honey produced at Tigem, Amasya in Turkey. The development of a very raw natural CBD hemp honey made from hemp flowers, bee pollen, is now on the market's table. And it's very exciting what will happen and how the public will accept this very natural product. The realization of all these projects have been accelerated with the intense cooperation of national and international institutes and our hemp network. And still we are in the state of emergency. This is why we are looking for partners to support us to cooperate for more long-term hemp projects. We plan to raise the volume to cover a big part of local industry needs with a targeted number of 1.5 million hectares in the next 24 months. As Turkey is the southeast border to the desert climate region of Northern Africa, we live the effects of fast emerging risks of the overheating of our habitat. Doğatech intends to start a big pilot project to ecological regeneration agricultural land with hemp cultivation on wasteland or so-called cancer soil that could not be used in Turkey for years. We want to recultivate the soil with the help of so-called water-free plants or, if possible, directly with hemp. Therefore, we will plant hemp instead of trees, where in former times fields of grain and corn has grown, with sourcing the industrial raw material that is needed. For example, The textile industry can be transformed within an international collaboration to an over-regional supply to produce more out of hemp. We welcome all leading institutes to work on the opportunity for agricultural renovation of these wastelands with us. We start our talks with the Ministry of City Development, Environment and Climate Change for with our international and national partners. What can the EU and other international institutes do to support a supplier like Turkey in the time of change? At the end of 2021, the European Court of Auditors declared over 300 billion euros unused subsidy budget. The biggest reason is the huge bureaucratic obstacle to use funds for projects in the EU and for the candidate countries like Turkey. I think it is of need and time to act together for a new agricultural and sustainable industry development program, including the advantage of hemp use for ecological and economic transformation to do these steps in Turkey. The evaluation of different scopes classifications by the IREC standard is included in the Turkish regulation. What kind of regulation and adoptions are being made in the carbon farming framework in Turkey, and how can we, as a local research team, be part of it to shape it in a perspective of hemp production? We may find links today in our conference. We see the need of unity in regulation. There are still different carbon evaluations in Europe and international decarbonization analytics worldwide. Various institutes like the IREC and the ISCC with their own regulations of energy and greenhouse evaluation needs to be united to one global standard, like the C-plug for charging cables, which was put on regulation by the International Standard Organization shortly. This is not only needed for the analytic finance part of decarbonization. Harmonization and unified standards are wanted everywhere else, like in the textile industry, where consumers are overwhelmed by countless labels saying, "I'm good for you." The International Standard Organization shall work on common standards marking a product as environmental friendly. Standards have to be put for more efficient mechanism in place to measure and price natural carbon capturing process by farming. There is a need to evaluate hemp as a tool to slow down and stop the climate change. Hemp is a chance for all of us. These are all actions taken by private engagement. At this point, I would like to thank, in the name of the Turkish Industrial Hemp Platform and everybody who supported us and gave hand to put these milestones together. And we ask for more helping hands and carrying shoulders to go the next miles together. Thank you for listening and enjoy the further conference. Thank you.
Thank you, Ercüment. Well, indeed, today we were expecting Mr. Hebah Sadik from the Green Takeover, but unfortunately, he had to attend an urgent health problem. We wish him good health, and now we will continue with Mark Reinders from Hemp.
Good afternoon. My name is Mark Reinders. I'm the CEO of the
Now, I believe we will restart, and Mark Reinders from Hempflex.
It's an honor to speak to you today in your conference in Turkey, and I apologize I couldn't join in person, maybe in the future. I would like to share today with you a few thoughts about hemp as being a hemp pioneer for the last 27 years. Hempflex is one of the pioneers of the European post-war industrial hemp. In 1994, Mr. Ben Dronkers founded Hempflex with the intention to bring back hemp as an industrial culture. As you all know, since 1961, all cannabis was prohibited, including industrial hemp. Mr. Dronkers changed the game by changing the laws and making it possible that industrial hemp was allowed to grow. But you can imagine that was a lot of pioneering work in those days, because 50 years there was no development of harvesting technology, of processing technology, or any market. So it was a long shot and a lot of work, a lot of pioneering. Today we can say we are one of the leading hemp companies in the world. Currently we operate 2 decortication facilities, one in the Netherlands, growing on contract with farmers 1,500 hectares for the 2022 season. And we have a new decortication facility in Romania in combination with our own farm operation for around about 1,000 hectares. On top of that, since June 2020, we operate a hemp insulation factory in the southern part of Germany, where we are transforming the fibers used in the Dutch plant and the Romanian plant into hemp fiber insulation materials for the construction market. We have a strong belief in industrial hemp, because industrial hemp is a game changer for the climate change, because industrial hemp is absorbing CO2 while it's growing. And at the same time, it doesn't need much input material like fertilizers or pesticides. Industrial hemp is storing carbon. If you produce from hemp like building materials or composites, for long term, you store carbon. For example, our hemp insulation material has a net carbon storage of 40 kilograms per cubic meter. That means that our crops absorb more CO2 than we do emit in our production process, and we gain 40 kilograms of carbon dioxide stored for 70 till 80 years in the building material. We are working on monetizing on this carbon storage, because we think that companies that do emit carbon dioxide, on the other hand, should pay for the emission, but companies who do take carbon dioxide from the air should get paid for it. So farmers growing hemp should get paid by taking carbon dioxide from the air. And then we are trying to slow down the climate change, and hopefully for the next generations, our Earth will be a planet we are still able to live on. On the other hand, we are improving day on day. So we are working on solar panels on a factory in the Netherlands. In 4 weeks from now, the first solar panels will be installed, making our factory energy neutral by the end of this year, because we are going to produce more energy on our roof than we need for the production process. We are also looking at our vehicles and our tractors and our combine harvesters. We're using biofuels for those machines. Myself, I'm driving a hydrogen car. My colleagues are driving electrical cars. Our goal is to be fossil fuel free by the end of 2025. We are also looking at our packing materials to make them bio-based. So in the end, we want to have a minimal footprint on the earth and trying to make a profitable business with hemp. And we encourage everybody in the industry to take the lead in this way. Start growing hemp only when you have a market, only when you have a supply chain in place. But if you have a supply chain in place and you have a market, you can be very successful in growing hemp. Again, I apologize, I could not be here with you today, hopefully in a nearby future. And I wish all of you a very good growing season and a very successful conference. Goodbye.
Thank you, Mark. Thank you, Zehra, Mark, and Ercüment for your opening speeches and for drawing the framework for today. Now we will embark on our first subject on hemp cultivation and processing. And we will hear our first speaker, Martin Kloete from Genossenschaft Glarnish Textile. Martin, the floor is yours.
Hello, everybody. Good afternoon. I'm honored to talk to you, and I would like to inform you about our cooperative Glernisch Textile. The initial motivation was to produce textiles, but on the way we learned, as everybody learned, that hemp is useful for many other applications in the construction industry and replacing synthetics and also for energy. I would like to share my screen with you. I find it in a minute, hang on. Hopefully, no. How this work? Yeah. Can you see this? I don't have any reaction from you.
We can't see it at the moment, Martin.
You can see it?
No, we can see you on the screen, but we can't see your screen now.
You can see my screen now?
No, we can see you.
Okay.
But not your screen.
Okay. Thailand. Okay, I'm not able to do this in this browser, obviously. I wanted to show you that we are very much, since 2017, engaged in developing all the applications which are needed to follow your visions as we share them in the same way. And we are connected in the Alpine region to our neighbors in Germany and Austria and Italy. And we had a hemp conference in the last few months. We defined a project for cooperation and for closing the gaps in the production lines of processing, harvesting and processing hemp in the various qualities, which come with the various qualities of straw that we get from the farmers. And talking about the production line, it obviously begins on the field and it ends at semi-products and marketable finished products in the various segments. And we used to run, and we still do, a decortication plant, but I'm very much in the belief that we need to bring the instruments and the tools to the farmers, not run a central decortication in a region which might be 500 square kilometers, something like that, or 2,000 hectares of production, something like that. We believe that we would like to see the farmers enabled to process their straw on their own and to get it into a quality of semi-products for the building industry, so that they sell sheaves and insulation fibers from their farms, like they sell today cheese or meat or vegetable and fruit. In future, they shall sell sheaves and construction material, insulation materials from their farms. And for the textile industry, we would like to enable them to be able to produce yarn prefabrics, so the prefabrics which spinning mills can take over and produce yarn with it. We believe that we need to construct simple, light, low-cost tools for the farmers so that they have a low entrance, that they have a good opportunity to collect or to get enabled with these simple tools, but qualified tools. So a breaker for textile fibers will cost not more than 40,000, 50,000 euros. It might still be quite a big number. And a decorticator for insulation material is about the same price. It will be not consuming more than the power on the farm is available. So it needs to be light and light engined also because of the power supply of the farms. And it needs to be able to run with that, which is what is available in terms of electricity on a farm. And we defined also a line which can be operated with the use of water or wind energy or even by hand. And we focus in this respect also Africa, where we see there are no electricity supply on in the areas, and still, for instance, in Malawi, we would like to bring the tools to make them to enable them to cultivate hemp and to make it useful. So tools which can be operated by hand, but it's not the slow and hard tool. It's still a high-tech tool which provides the necessary quality for the various sectors. We talk about the first quality for textile. We talk about second quality of fibers for building and construction. And we collected even third quality of straw. And this will be we grind it to replace, also to flour and to powder, to replace plastics and synthetics in the future. And we started to have collaboration and cooperation with many university institutes and partners in the synthetic industry to get this done, that we may replace plastics with decent material with the same functionality as we are used in the market. Last principle is valid for everything. So if we talk about textile, we understand that the expectation of the consumers, man and wife, men and women, are the rule, and that we have to meet it. And these expectations are set by cotton. Our responsibility as entrepreneurs, unified entrepreneurs, is actually to meet these expectations by using hemp, by processing hemp, and by leaving out the traditional materials like Edugame said, fossil and cotton, but to make the same feeling, to produce the same feeling, the same haptic feeling, and the same comfort, at least the same comfort. We know that there is more comfort in it, but at least to meet the expectations of the consumer. When they have a jeans, it must be a jeans because they are used to a jeans, and it's not a hemp trouser, but it's a jeans made of hemp, and the shirt the same. And the material for construction the same. It must be easy to handle, easy to operate, easy to apply, clean to apply, but avoid anything that we know should be avoided. Same with the synthetics. We have the industry standards for those materials. We have the endurance, we have the stress tests, everything that we need to fulfill, but with hemp. And we are, as Gleinish Cooperative, in charge to provide the solutions to fulfill these expectations. We are very much interested in cooperating with you, dear partners all around the world. We enjoy already cooperation with you in Turkey, with you in Serbia, with you in Romania, with you in Germany, Italy, and Austria, with ourselves in Switzerland, with the universities, applied science universities and academic universities for fundamental science. This makes us going, keeps us going, makes us rich, and we appreciate every hint and expertise from any side, because we are convinced we have to shape the world quite dramatically and quickly, because time runs and the disaster knocks at the door if we don't react in time. Thank you very much to everybody.
Thank you, Martin, for your speech. Now we will hear from Francesco Del Zio from Hemphilia. Welcome, Francesco.
Hi, thank you, and hello to everybody. Well, we started to be involved in the hemp business in 2018. We are a cosmetic manufacturer. Actually, we manufacture cosmetics since 1996, and well, I got to know the hemp business in 2018, and I have to say that I fall in love totally with it. And we started at the time we started to research for DINAFEM, which is not existing anymore at the moment, because they wanted to have a cosmetic line. And I had a friend, I have still a friend that was working in it, and that's why we started to research for them. But at the end, after almost 1 month, I just wanted to tell them I wasn't able, because CBD was disappearing into the cream by processing of the cosmetics. And at the end, in a Saturday night of May 2018, I got out how to make the cream by an error that was falling down a becker from the table of the lab, and that's why I get the lamp on. I get the idea on what was the problem that brought CBD to disappear during the process of manufacturing. And so from that we started, and we made the line for them. But I got to know in 2018, as I said, the business, because I was invited in an exhibition in the Casativa trade in Italy, and there is where I started to meet the people of this fantastic sector. And there I realized that we have to enter at once with cosmetics, with our own brand into the cosmetics, and make private label also for the other. Because I was in the right place with the right know-how. So I made at that time already since 22 years cosmetics. So I had the knowledge to do that. And I discovered that CBD was really a new active principle, which have a deeply and big effectiveness without having side effects. I remember the first exhibition I made in outside of Italy, actually, which is not our main market, Italy. Actually, it's only 2.7% of the revenue of the company. But anyway, I was in Copenhagen in Denmark at September 2018, and there was a lot of people coming. There were a lot of people coming about asking for. They asking for something medical. So they were not interested, as it was at that time in Italy. They were not interested in smoking. So the focus for them was not about smoking the hemp. It was about having something out of it that treat them and cure them without having side effects. I had so much people in wheelchairs that were asking for something that could help their disease without having the side effects they had already experienced, because they were treated with some medical devices and medicines which solved their problem in one way, but at the end they get a side effect, so they get another disease because of the medicines that treat and cure the first disease. It's very incredible. But it was at that exhibition there were like 45 people in wheelchairs and with severe diseases that were there to ask, to find, to try to get in contact with somebody that were manufacturing or distributing some product that could help them without, as I said, the side effects. And that gave me such a big impression on myself. And I was making since 1996 natural cosmetics. So the aim, of course, it's a cosmetic. So it's not a medicine, but the aim we always had in the company was to do something that it will treat the people and it will make good things to the people, that will treat the people, that will in somehow heal the person that will use the products. And in that exhibition, I was so impressed, and I decided there to involve and all my efforts, all my possibilities to follow the market, as it was also I was also in the right time in that market. So we grow so fast, and the satisfaction, personal satisfaction, was so big that I decided in 2019 to leave all the other things and concentrate only on CBD products and hemp-derived products. The pity was that after a while I discovered that we could not use full spectrum oil, because in cosmetics, cosmetic has an own regulation, actually Europe-wide. In 2009, all at that time the 27 state members of Europe, they decided to demand the power of regulating cosmetics to the EU Commission only. So this agreement came in force in July 2013, and since then the state has nothing to say about cosmetics anymore. Only the EU Commission, actually the CPNP, a team of a part of the EU Commission, which is involved in the regulation of cosmetics and research. And since then, the EU Commission decide about and rule the cosmetics. And I discovered that the full spectrum was not allowed to use in cosmetics, because in cosmetics there are not allowed any traces of THC. Beside what people think, that if the plant is allowed to have 0.2% of THC, then all the derivatives from the plant would be also allowed to have the THC inside. But that's not true. Indeed, in cosmetic, in the foodstuff probably also not, and the supplement also not. But anyway, I'm sure in cosmetic, because I'm focused on cosmetics. So in that case, as I'm working there since 26 years, I know, let us say, a lot on it. But then I decided, but I knew that the full spectrum was the best, of course, extract for the human use. And then I decided to use only crystals, and we buy it outside, so we are not manufacturing them, producing them ourselves. But to simulate to have a full spectrum, there also the entourage effect, and I think this is a secret also of our manufactured product, is that we made our own plant, which was grown by two growers here in Italy. Actually, the company is based in Italy. The manufacturing company is based in Italy. We have other seeds outside of Italy, but the manufacturing is in Italy still, and will stay in Italy. And at that time, we had two growers growing for us. Now we have our own company, well, a part of a company that grows the hemp we used to for the cosmetics. But anyway, to simulate the full spectrum extract, we make a special oily extract with organic sunflower oil and organic coconut oil, Of course, we have to be very, very careful to extract from a plant that has a certain amount of THC inside, lower than 0.2 actually, to be sure during with this extraction process, we do a hot extraction process, and then we decarboxylate during extractions to have such a low content of cannabinoids, because we don't have to, we must not have any traces, so it must be non-detectable, the THC, and so we must extract in a way that we extract very few of the cannabinoids, also CBD, and that's why then we add with crystals, with isolate. But that way we have the real full spectrum, even if it's with very low content of CBD, but it's a full spectrum. And then we add the CBD crystals, and then we simulate the real full spectrum. And that gives us the possibility to use, how to say, the whole, the full complex of the plant, and also probably the energy of the plant into the cosmetics. And another really lovely thing for me is that we use vibration extract. So with vibration, indeed with music, with classic music indeed, and some frequencies. So we do manufacture the products and extract from the hemp and other plants also, because we do ourselves also many other plant extracts we use in the products, like mint extract, the rosemary extract, and arnica, and others. And this gives, following the quantistic physics and some studies that were developed in the last 3 years, that gives the product what the environment also comes into the manufacturing process, and growing and harvesting and all that kind of stuff. Well, for me, it's very fascinating, that kind of things, and it's also complicated to explain. Actually, my intervention here, it was just to tell about the history of Hemphilia and how we were involved into the hemp business. I'm very happy to have heard before my intervention that both of the speaker were give attention to the world and the environment and so thing, and this is also very important to us. So I'm very happy to hear that most the people I know around Europe now, we export to 29 countries now in 3 years. So I know a lot of people of Europe, and also out Israel and United States in that business. And I see that in most the operator of that business, that there are a real will to change things, to invert the environmental destruction we put in force the last 20, 30, 40 years. And I'm very happy because we also, in the company, all employees are paid, for example, 50, 55 euro more if they come 45% of the, 75%, 45, three-quarter of the time of where coming to the company with, for example, bicycle or public transport instead of the car, then they get a bonus at the end of the month, about 50 or 55 euro. We invested a lot of money to make the tubes we use with a lower plastic content, which we achieve decreasing the layers till the products was leaking through the plastic. So then we have to hire it up to 2 layers again. But anyway, in this way, we were able to achieve to decrease by 75% of the plastic consumption. Of course, I would be very happy to be able to replace the PE we use, low density and high density, with another plastic, but we didn't find, hemp derived if possible, or cane sugar, for example, but we didn't find a solution that make a sufficient barrier to keep the product into the tube, which is a soft tube, and keep it safe for a while we need for a best before date. But we don't use on purpose also boxes, for example. I don't know who of you maybe have seen our products around Europe. we have a display, but we don't use boxes. And a very funny thing is, I tried 2 times in my business life, in my cosmetic business life, to avoid the boxes. Well, before Hempfilia, before the hemp, so with the other company, and I was really almost shaming myself, because I remember that when we went to the customers, to the shop, they said, "What? You want me to sell a product without a box on the shelf? Are you joking with that?" No, I don't want it. They were really almost angry. We tried to propose them that. But here, the people in that business, in the hemp niche, they understood and they see it as an advantage to not have, because the boxes, to have a boxes, we are cutting trees, and the box is only to sell. And you are going home, when you're at home, you are just wasting the box without even using it. So why should we waste the trees because of the box? But it was really strange, because in the past was like, I was seeing like, wow, this is a crazy man trying to sell products without the box, which is very important to sell. But here I really fall in love. Also, one of the reasons I fall in love with that business, also that, because the people value it. Oh, they are thinking about the environmental reaction, really. So they take care and they see it an adventure. And then they wrote, and many magazines wrote about us because we didn't use the boxes. So I was really impressed about that business, and that's why we decided to concentrate on it. And well, as I said, in 2019, I concentrate 100% on it. And as I said, we are now in 29 countries. We have started also with the United States. We are working with a couple of Israeli also pharma companies focused on hemp. And I'm very happy, because CBD is very, very, very effective against pains, inflammation, anti-aging is also. So we have a cream called, for example, extended release cream, which is our most sold, that is used to resolve a really big quantity of little diseases, from chronic pains to psoriasis to other things that we are not able to write it in the product, because it's actually not a medicine, but it helps a lot of people without having side effects. And that's why we are now working also with some politicians from France, for example, starting for well, in the next 2-3 months, there will be probably in most of the pharmacies in France the products to treat, because of one ex-politics that a minister actually that has a BPCO. This is I don't know how to say it in English actually, but it's a very bad disease. Actually, is the 4th reason of death in the world. And he tried our sport gel. And it's a disease that creates you problems to breathe, and by not breathing, the muscle get hard and painful, and these people has difficulties to sleep in the night. And he tried one of our products suggested by a doctor, and I met him in Marseille in an exhibition a few months ago, and that night he could sleep without problem. And from that he started to investigate the products, and I had him here 10 days ago, in the company with his partners and associates to see how to bring the products for having the help to add as an ad for this kind of diseases. And I'm very happy to be able to, of course, we are making business like everybody, have to live, have to earn money, and we are in a world that you need it, but you can make business creating value or stealing value. And our world, I think, in the last decades, the direction was to make business by stealing value each other, stealing value to the world, stealing value to the nature, stealing value to each other. And now we are finally finding a way that, as also Ecumen said at the beginning, we need to turn into a way of living that creates value, that makes the value synergic and not destroy values and the world and the environment. So I'm very happy to be in that business, and with that I have to travel away, so I close my intervention, and I was happy to be with you, and thank you for everything. Bye bye.
You here today, and we have two questions to you asked by Mr. Adem Alemdar. Can you see it on the screen, or shall I read it out to you?
Oh yes, but then I need the glasses.
Sure.
Is there any strains of hemp that reach specific qualification for any industries, for different industries? How they are specific? Well, there is strains of hemp that reach specific qualification, but depends. Indeed, first of all, for example, now as we use GMP CBD, GMP manufacturer, and for pharmacies especially now, first of all, it has to be a strain that is legal in Europe, if you use it in Europe. The truth is we use a lot of CBD that is now, because at the beginning I set up in Austria an extraction, CO2 extraction for a bigger company, a bigger grower. But unfortunately in Europe, we still have an unstable standard. So there is nobody made a standard in Europe for CBD isolate. Actually, there's a Danish company trying to do it since a couple of years, but it's very difficult because you need such a really big quantity of hemp, of different lots, of different batches to be mixed to have a standard. The only one that made it yet are the Americans, because they plant, for example, Oregon, 40,000 hectares of industrial hemp focused on extraction, and that permits them to have, of course, also a price that we are not able to have it now in Europe, but also to have a standard of quality, which is maybe not the highest quality, but it's always standard, and that doesn't affect then the effect of the products itself. Indeed, Colombia now is also very, very strong, very powerful, and it will come after the summer also the flowers from Colombia. So we import already from Colombia many not tons, but almost tons of CBD crystal to use in the cosmetics, and their quality is also very good in the meanwhile. And we were also able to certificate it Cosmos in 2020, 2021 at the beginning. So specifically, yes, I don't know the strains out of the cosmetics business actually, but I'm sure you need the strains that are legal in Europe. And of course, the problematic is as much cannabinoids you can have in the plant, as much product you can get out of it. So now, for example, that since the beginning of the year in the Czech Republic is allowed to have the content of THC by 1% in the hemp. Most of European companies are bringing the hemp there because they can grow it with more THC, and that means also with more CBD. So if you want, or CBN or CBG, whatever another cannabinoids, the non-psychoactive cannabinoids are. Of course, the same plan, if you have now in the meanwhile with the legal strain in Europe, there are companies able to grow with 15-18% of CBD real inside it. If you can have 1% of THC, then probably you can go to 25% of CBD in it, and that means from 100 kilo of 1 ton of crop or flowers or the plant itself, you can get out probably 220 kilo of isolate instead of getting 10, 12, or 11 of other strains. So the specificity is depending what you want to do with the plant itself. we normally in Italy, for example, we have different like phenola well, mostly is phenol actually, what we use. But then we make indeed genetic selection in the company itself, in the growing company itself. I hope I explain you, Adam. I answer your question.
Adem also has a second question, Francesco. Says, apart from THC, which of the ingredients of hemp help in the means of cosmetics?
Well, apart THC, of course, CBD. This is the most active one, and also the most studied cannabinoid in cosmetics. Actually, is CBD, and the anti-inflammatory property of CBD is very good. Also, indeed, also of CBG, but the cost of CBG is still so much higher than CBD. Than in cosmetics is used more CBD, and also because CBD is, as I said, more studied. We have a lot of efficacy studies, so effectiveness study. In the meanwhile, when I started with the CBD in 2018, the fascinating thing was for me that were not no research, no literature, and I'm a person who like challenge, so I didn't find in literature the effect of CBD, which is normal for cosmetics. So you read in the literature, in the books, and what about the effect of a substance you will use? But at that time, from CBD, they were not existing that. It was fantastic because for me it was like, wow, I have to research. I can research on it. So I can see and make the research about CBD, and what's fantastic. So in the meanwhile, CBD, we know a lot about CBD, the effects of CBD in the mitochondrium, which is the motor of the cell, for example. It's optimize everything, and optimize the mitochondrium. That means that you let work all the biological system of the body in a better way. And there are studies of CBG for anti-inflammatory. It seems like the CBG is higher in inflammation, against inflammation than CBD, but the price is too high still. Then now they are coming CBN, which seems to be also very, very effective. But now it's too early to tell you researchers that are on the way, on the run. So till now, still CBD is the most effective at the moment.
Thank you, Francesco. Adem also thanks you as well.
Thank you, everybody. Thank you.
Happy
Bye.
to have you here today. Bye.
Thank you too. Bye.
So now we will continue with Ahmet Barış Ay from Peace and Fashion.
This is Ahmet Barış Ay from Peace and Fashion Limited. This is my own consultancy company. I am based in UK and I am living in Sussex area. With my company, I'm giving consultancy service in sourcing and development of sustainable materials. If you look at my career, I worked about 15 years in companies like H&M and Adidas in material sourcing, material development, or material quality departments. And there, in both companies, I was focused on sourcing new sustainable materials. For example, about 20 years ago, organic cotton was a very new fiber for the market we implemented, or BCI cotton was very new to the market, which is now very, very well known fibers at the moment. And in today's, there are so many exciting innovations in material science. And actually, I'm very interested in two things. First, using the recycled agriculture products, for example, or recycled clothing, such making natural fibers through natural raw materials. That's very important because I'm so much against synthetic fibers. Why? Because as you may all know, synthetic fibers and natural fibers blended, the end product it's very hard to recycle. So we have in the end we have a linear product, which will probably landfill when the lifetime ends. Here, hemp has a very great role. Why? Because hemp has the opportunity, has the capacity to take a big role from cotton. And cotton, which is again, you may all know, is the thirsty product, which unfortunately, when it is not organic, uses so much pesticides and herbicides. And although organic cotton was shown as a solution to this problem, unfortunately, the organic cotton capacity can't meet the cotton needs of the world. So there are, I heard some Freud things about some fibers, although they are not organic, they are recorded as organic. Anyway, these are the details. What I want to say that organic cotton unfortunately couldn't be a good solution, and it still needs water, but hemp can be a very good solution. So cotton has the biggest portion in natural fibers in all materials used. So if hemp takes some percentage from some big slice from the cake, really it will be use of much less pesticides and herbicides. So it will be, and the nature will not be poisoned in the end. And if you look to the previous centuries, when cotton was not dominating the world, you will also see that hemp fiber was dominating. So it's very important to invest on fibers like hemp or linen or other natural fibers, so that we can have natural fibers in the end product, and we try to exclude all synthetics like polyester, nylon, or any other synthetics from our products. As you know, the production of synthetic fibers cause huge amount of carbon emissions, and unfortunately this fiber, when landfilled, when they are mixed to nature, they create problems. As again, you may all heard about this microplastic problems. This is a great problem. It's a microplastic, it's a macro problem. So the natural fabrics will be a solution for it. Hemp fiber will be a solution. So the one challenge of hemp fiber is about it is not a very soft fiber still. But again, there are so many nice innovations in this area. People are trying to make much softer fibers through hemp, like like Device, for example, called it cottonizing the fiber, and still other brands are working on it. For example, in Turkey, I had communicated with several universities, especially Samsun University or Marmara University from Istanbul. Samsun is 19 Mayıs University, which is in Samsun. They are working on projects to make how to make hemp fiber softer, and I'm sure that if we make it close soft to cotton fiber, then it will somehow replace, not fully substitute cotton, but take a big role from cotton, which will be very good, which will be a very good news for our world, I believe. So I send my best wishes to you all, and I hope that natural fibers will be more in all the material usage in all textile products in the future. Bye from UK.
We would like to thank all our speakers from the first subject, for their valuable contributions. And now, before we move on to the second subject, let's hear Ercüment Degidiben once again. Ercüment, can you kindly wrap up the first subject, please? Thank you.
Hello again. Thank you for your patience in listening, and sorry for the technical delays that we had. Unfortunately, some of the persons we have invited to the program are not able to come in the last minute. So for that reason, others that are going to join us now have more time to explain their work with hemp. And we are very excited now to hear from Ionut Rus from Romania. Please welcome Ionut to the stage, and hope you enjoy the show. And I'm very excited about the discussion that we're going to have in the third panel on Google Meet. So please stay tuned and enjoy the show. I think now we can switch over to Yonut. I think he's ready to join us right now.
Yes.
Hello.
Hello. Hello.
How
Good
are
day.
you?
Good day. Good day to you. Hello. Thank you. Thank you very much for this opportunity. It's been really lovely, and it's been a great chance to hear all this beautiful people talking. Before I was listening to your opening speech, and afterwards to what was discussed in the first session. Very, very nice. So thank you for this opportunity. I would like to start with that. So I'm the founder and CEO of this clothing brand called Deionescu. We basically focus on hemp fashion. We work just with hemp. So we are a hemp company more than a fashion company. It's because some things were discussed before, from cultivation to how to soften the fabric. The gentleman from Sussex was mentioning, and well, we have a full European supply chain. That was very important for us, that we tried to make everything, we call it from crop to shop, in Europe. So the cultivation of the plant is taking place in here, the retting stage, all the stages. I don't want to get into details. I want to be to bore some people with details how to cultivate hemp for textiles. So there are many things. We started this company in 2018. 2 months before the Farm Bill in the US, which was in December 2018, we launched in October 2018. 99.99% period 9 of our products, we export them, so we don't really work with the Romanian market. Around 70% of everything that we produce goes to the United States, which is their very thirst of hemp fabrics and hemp fashion. Most then the rest of it goes to Western Europe, countries such as the Netherlands. They are also people that are very open to hemp textiles, as well as Germany. I would say it would be the second country in Europe. And then France, Italy. Obviously, we do have orders from all over the place, Eastern Europe included, but most of it goes to the US. So I put here some notes maybe that it would be interesting to discuss about, because some people mentioned these ideas before. So the first thing that would be good to discuss is the processing. So the fiber that we take in this stage comes from Ukraine, and we are very lucky. I'm very lucky, to be honest, because I can sit. How was that called? The Newton said it, that you sit on the shoulders of the great, because in the exact same style, Romania was quite a prominent player in this market during communism. And all the countries in the Varsovia Pact basically were hemp cultivators. So that includes ex-Yugoslavian countries, Hungary, Poland, Ukraine, but all the Soviet Union, basically 11 countries that were in the Soviet Union. All of them used. We still use the same technology. So this technology comes for carding. We use machinery from 1953, so that it's prior to Stalin's death, and the machine still works. It's an incredible machinery. That's for carding. For weaving, we use STB weavers. That's also Soviet weavers, weaving machineries. Again, I don't want to get into details so nobody gets bored, but the Soviets were very well known for copying stuff, right? That's a very, very famous thing. There are many books written about how Soviets copied airplanes from the US and how they sent people in the 30s to MITs to steal secrets and all that. And it's interesting because it was always difficult to, this is like a side story, it was always difficult to make the conversion from inches to centimeters. So every time you hear a Soviet plane doing a type of funny noise, it's because of that, because they could never get the exact measurements. converting inches to centimeters, right? So we basically take this fiber from Ukraine, which is already retted. Now, I don't know if there is anyone listening here, but I mean, I know that there is, but in case any of you know out there how we can do the retting stage, it would be incredibly helpful, because as far as I know, there is no country in the European Union at the moment. That would be ideal, because being a single market, the goods can travel very easily. But when you bring them from outside of the European Union, you have to pay taxes and customs and whatnot. So the retting stage is we do water retting, which is the best, which was done traditionally in rural areas prior to the industrial Sovietization, if you want. So we do water retting, which is different, which people, for instance, in the linen department, because the gentleman, again, prior to me, he was talking about the linen industry, they don't really have that problem, because linen, it's a short plant, it's a 1 meter plant, right? So you can just do field drying. And that's why all the companies from Belgium and France and Ireland, where linen is possible, it's very famous, let's say, they do field drying. So they basically take the linen out of with the bulb out of the ground, just leave it on the ground for 10-14 days. You cannot do that with hemp, because you don't get very high quality fiber, and especially for textiles, right? So you basically need to do water retting. You need to place the hemp plant in the water. The problem is that someone needs to say, not everything is good about this plant. Not everything is good about the plant, because here in Romania, for instance, it's illegal if you cultivate hemp to leave it in the local river, because it's going to kill the fishes. So from that point of view, we cannot do that. Obviously, I'm a vegetarian myself, so furthermore, I cannot do that. So basically, you need some big pools of water, which existed before in Romania, but they closed. The last one closed in Western Romania, in Arad, in 2007, when Romania entered into the European Union, because there were certain rules and regulations, and you have to basically make the water. You need to put it back in the nature, pretty much in a green way. So I think a water filtration system nowadays costs close to €1 million, something like that, around there, if you want to make it nicely. So we take this already retted stage from Ukraine, and we basically do the carding and the spinning locally in Romania. Now there is another advantage, because the machineries that we have are very old. Well, there's advantages and disadvantages. We can only work with long hemp fiber, which is really what we want to do, and what we should do as people interested in it. We should work with long hemp fibers. So we work with hemp fibers that are, let's say, no less than 1.5 meters. Up to 2 meters, 1.5 meters to 2 meters. This is really good, because it's a difference from the cottonized hemp. People call it cottonized hemp because this is a Chinese invention, if you want, in the 90s, because there were not a lot of machineries out there, and in the 90s. So the only companies that were doing some machineries were coming from Eastern Europe, with the exception of Mackie International, which is a company from Northern Ireland that no longer exists. They were really having the best machineries. Mackie is Mother Alpha Charlie Kilo India Echo. Mackie International. They had really good machineries. The Romanian government, communist government, bought a lot of them. We still have them, and they were really helpful. You can also use Unirea machineries. They're coming from Romania to process hemp. There are very few, but the Chinese in the 90s, they really didn't have access to a lot for their big industry for that. So they decided to take the long hemp fiber and cut it into small pieces, so they can spin it via cotton machineries, because there are plenty. So what do? It's like they try to process hemp through their cotton technology. So that's why it's called cottonized hemp. But the thing is, like, you have this beautiful plant that has a beautiful long fiber, and you try to cut its integrity into small parts so you can actually make a textile. The thing is, like, obviously people don't know that by hemp products, because most of them, they get like this 55% hemp, 45% organic cotton t-shirts from China. Did you buy them? Now they charge you more, but I guess you can buy them from like $10-12, depending on who do you know, and you can sell them for 35. This is the most common hemp textile business in the world right now. If you can get $8 to $12 t-shirts, hemp cotton mix, 55 hemp, 45% organic cotton, and you sell them for 35 in Europe or in the US, $35 in the US. Sometimes in Europe you can even sell them for 50. Because there is a market for it. And then people, they wonder, but I don't really have it's not even all the properties of hemp. And of course not, it's not, first because it's cottonized hemp, and second because it's mixed with cotton furthermore. So you don't really wear hemp, but you do, it's okay. So this is in regard. So we work with long hemp fibers, and that's the only way that we can work, because the machineries that we have, for example, the STB weaving machineries, which I was telling you that they are copycats after the German Schulzer, because the Soviets were known for copying stuff. So they just took the Schulzer machinery of weaving, and because they had better iron and steel at home, they made a better machinery. And if you search online on YouTube, I think I put there a video, STB weaving, and our company named Ionesco Hemp Fibers. You can see how that machinery works. You can find this machinery mostly in countries that were, let's say, in close relations with the Soviet Union back in the days. So you might even find them in the Middle East. I've heard people having this type of even carding machineries in Egypt, and it's very interesting where these machineries went all over the world. Right, so we work with this, and then we do the weaving, we do the finishing in here, and it's very interesting because we actually do soften the fabric. We use German technology from a local company here and we soften the fabric in order, we pre-wash it. So the fabric that we use we have for all our clothes, it's pre-washed, so the piece of cloth will never shrink. And this is really something that you don't see around, because most of the times, and this includes the linen manufacturers, they give you a 5% shrinkage, level. And it happens a lot sometimes with your linen pants when you bought them from somewhere and you wash them by mistake at 40, 50, 60 degrees, and they're like one size down. So with the fabric that we have, we produce, we use for all our products, we do not experience such level of shrinkage. You can wash it at 90 degrees, you can wash it whatever. So it's a loss that we take as a company in order for the client to feel appreciated and to have the best type of product. So we do soften the fabric in a way. I always get that question, how does hemp fabric feels? I think you should buy our products, and then you will see how the hemp fabric feels. It's like trying to describe how honey is. You can write the whole Encyclopedia Britannica about it, or you can just taste a little bit of honey and boom, voila. Right, all our production, speaking about production, takes place in Romania. So once we get the retted hemp fiber, we do everything locally in here. And this is something that our clients appreciate, because I see this trend recently, more and more, or in the recent years, people are looking for local, regional products. So this is something that we try to stick to. We have a small, we call it atelier, like in the Latin languages, but it's like a tailor shop, if you want, in English. Of 12 sewers, it's 12 ladies, all of them paid, because someone mentioned that they pay their people well. We also pay our people above the average Romanian salary. All of them have kids. We know their kids, with the exception of one lady, all of them have kids. We have a pattern cutter, a designer. We really don't have like this type of huge factory. But in that respect, we really help people and companies that are new in the market. Because if you just started in the hemp market and you want to do textiles, what do? You're going to go to China, let's say, to get t-shirts, but then they're going to have this big MOQ. You need to make 300 pieces of the same color, of the same style, and you have to do that. So we are really focusing on companies that they just opened and they want to test the waters. They want to get interested in this. So we help them with like small batches. We can give them 11 pieces, 31 pieces, 51 pieces, 100 pieces. It's up to them how many they want, but we also do that. As for the distribution of the company of our products, as I said, the majority of the products, they go to the US. It's a big market. I think it's going to continuously grow for the next 5 years, for sure. I think, but again, because this is with next in the next chapter about textiles and all this, I think really the future lays in the fiber, because when the ex-president of the United States signed the Farm Bill in December 2018, everyone rushed into CBD. So it was like in 2008, the real estate, right? It was like a balloon that was created with CBD, and everyone is in CBD, and that's good. That's really good, because it's this awareness that comes with it, and people start to hear more and more about hemp. So that's excellent. But slowly, this is probably, I believe, this is just my opinion, is slowly going to be regulated. And the big pharma companies are just going to put their hands on this, and they're going to say that this type of things, they're like a drug, like at the drugstore, right? So you cannot just like you cannot sell paracetamol yourself. You need probably a license. Probably they're going to do that. So not all the kids around the block are going to be able to open a CBD shop maybe in the future. If we're lucky, maybe we can still postpone that thing. But I think the pharma companies are going to see that it's a very big market, and people are looking for these things, especially because in the recent years, people are starting to become more and more aware of what do they eat, how do they travel. We start to understand all these things, and I think it's huge. But at the same time, you cannot do that with fiber. Right, and with fiber you have so many uses, so many things that you can do with it, and obviously you can use the long hemp fiber for textiles ideally, and the short hemp fiber you can do a lot of things. Hempcrete, right? You can do paper, packages, everything in that respect. So it's I think it's really interesting if more and more people would get interested in the fiber. And if people would get together, so we can, and obviously it starts because back in the days during communism in here, people were because of basically there were these cooperatives. Every couple of villages they were in a cooperative, and the state, the Communist Party, mandated each county in Romania, we have 42 of them, to basically cultivate. It was mandatory to cultivate a certain portion of the land of your county with hemp. So hemp was basically had access to everyone because there were people that cultivated it. And right now, like, look, traditionally speaking, linen, for example, because I keep comparing it with linen, was more expensive than hemp because it was finer. Because there was a gentleman in the Netherlands called Van den Bourse, and today we have the name Bourse or Boursin, I think it's in French, from that gentleman that was a linen clothier. He was selling linen in his house, and that's where the stock exchange in Europe came from that particular house. But anyway, linen was softer. It was used from ancient times in Egypt. It was somehow the fabric of the bourgeoisie, if you want, of the high-end people. It was softer. It was really as perfect for the first layer of your skin. That's why the word lingerie, lin in French and lingerie, for underwear, right? So and hemp was pretty much a little bit rougher, and hemp was like the fabric of the people, of the peasants, if you want. Where can we get your product in Germany? You can just enter on our website, and just the name of the website, it's deionescu.com. I don't know how to write a message here because I would, but it's deionescu. And you can enter there, and you can check all our products. So yeah, linen was softer, basically, and it was used by the high-end people, while hemp was more for the majority of the people. So linen was more expensive. But then hemp got into the story of being like a very like the devil's plant. Like it was really it went to become a little bit like a rebellious plant. And in Romania, for instance, there are like a few stories about how the hemp market disappeared. So I think I spoke a lot, and I didn't even say what the mission of our company is. So the mission of our companies is to make what the communists were talking in here about. I'm going to say it in Romanian. It's called integrată. Integrată was like, I think you translate in English as an integral. It means that under one rooftop, you're able to do everything from crop to shop. So you would cultivate the hemp basically next to the facility, and you're going to process everything, and then you're going to have the end product coming right on the other side. So that's our mission. That's what we want to do. We want to be able to take all the processes from cultivating the green grass in the field until having your garment, your end garment. So that's our mission as a company. And so first we need people to cultivate it. We need people that are, this is very, very important. People don't talk about the farmers, how important they are, because right now hemp it's on average minimum 5 times more expensive per linear meter than linen. And this is more expensive because linen is cultivated very freely. You can go to the closest shopping mall, to any of the Inditex companies, right? Because they're the biggest in the world, and you can find linen. It's very, very easy, but you can never find hemp in the shopping mall, never, because people are not cultivating it. So we need it's very, very important that farmers get on this and they start to cultivate. Obviously, like the gentleman Mark Reinders said before, you also need to have the processing plant next to you. That was another thing. You always make the processing plant next to the place that you're cultivating the hemp. So you don't have to ship it to the other part of the world, or you don't have to ship it to another country like we're doing now. That's definitely, we're wasting time and money because of doing that. But we also want to keep the supply chain in Europe. At the same time, we learned that because our machineries are old, we cannot use Chinese yarn. So that it's a different thing, because the Chinese yarn, it's not, it's a little bit finer, if you want. It's a little bit finer. So basically, when we put Chinese yarn on the Soviet STB machinery, the yarn breaks, because the yarns nowadays in China, they're made like very professionally with lasers and all that thing, and the machinery is just too old. They didn't catch up with the technology. So from that respect, we always need to use somehow local yarn. It's the same case if we send yarn from here to a country that has very modern weaving machineries, right? Sometimes they cannot weave it because the machine stops too many times, and people really do not want to do that, the weavers, because if you put 100% hemp yarn on both the warp and the weft, right, of a fabric, sometimes if your machinery is designed to work for 15 years with cotton, and you put hemp yarns on both, on warp and weft, it might work for 5 years, its life expectancy. So it's going to decrease dramatically. So you also need to take that into consideration. And people just, the weavers, they're not very much interested. So they prefer Chinese hemp because it's just very soft. the genetic varieties, well, I don't know, Mr. Adam, the exact, I can tell you some of what, yes. Is there any strains of hemp that reach specific qualifications for textile industries? I only know the ones from here. So I don't really know what they use in Italy or what they use in France or what they use in the US. So again, I don't know where exactly to write the messages in here, but I can tell you that, for instance, in Romania there is, and maybe this is best if you're interested in this particular domain, is to go and search for Lovrin, Lovrin. Yes, so Lovrin is a research and development institute for hemp in Romania, in Western Romania. And it's really crazy because it's been around since the 70s and 80s. So when I think about these things, is like, imagine that hemp was pretty much illegal in the rest of the world except Eastern Europe for textiles. I mean, for textiles, for industrial textiles. So we don't just weave it as peasants at home and we make like this type of rugs, right, like they do in Nepal, but I mean like industrial hemp, like you have specific machineries designed to do what the peasants were doing at home, to do it in an industrial way, right? So Lovrin is an institute in Romania that created their own cultivars. I think they're called their own cultivars of hemp. And it's very, very interesting if you read about it, because people were doing in this country research in 1980s and 1981 and 1982, in a time when people were not even, like, it was illegal to cultivate hemp. People were doing research and development, what people are doing today. So right now, if you come to Romania and you go to Lovrin, you're going to meet all these old people that are going to tell you everything about this domain. Some of the cultivars that were using the most were Secuiana, was called Fibra Multă. I think there was Lovrin 181 and Lovrin 182. I might be wrong here on the numbers. If I would have prepared myself better for this, I would have told you the exact numbers. But you can search for Mr. Valeriu Tabără. Valeriu Tabără is a gentleman from here, from Romania, that writes a lot of academic papers, right? When you publish into a journal about this type of cultivars, that are best to be used for the textile industry. And then there are certain rules when you cultivate it, when you harvest it, to do it earlier, so not for the plant to fully blossom when you do textiles. Right. So yeah, I think I don't know, I haven't looked for how long I was talking. I can continue to talk about this. I don't know. Yes. Is that okay? Was that good?
That's very nice. Very.
Okay.
But if you want to tell us more, please feel free to do so, because we have a flowing and changing program.
Okay.
Because some of our participants that we had planned to talk are not able to join us. So feel free to share your experience on hemp textile and hemp in total. So please go on. We're listening.
Sure. Thank you. Excellent. So, going on, how did I start with this? Well, I was I was working for a Swiss company, Swiss-British company, before in Prague, and I decided that I never want to take I made a solemn vow with myself that I'm never going to take an office job. So I quit my job and I went to India and Nepal. And while I was there, I stayed for a year, from September 2017 to 1st of September 2017 to 1st of September 2018. And at the end of my trip, I was practically a vagabond over there. I was thinking, well, I learned that, like any other human being, I have two options in life. Either I can become a hermit and then I stay in the mountain and then I don't care. And second, I can become a household man. So I decided to become a household man, and that is to say, to create a family. So now I have a 1-year-old daughter, because it's nice to have to be household. And so I was thinking, okay, what am I going to do? And every time I was there, I heard a lot of people talking about hemp. This was like 2017, 2018, and I met this couple of Australians, and they were always talking about hemp, that they drink hemp tea, that they dress in hemp clothes, that they smoke the high cousin of hemp and everything. And I started to become interested in this. So I started to look for textiles. I knew about hemp textiles because in the Romanian national outfit, they feature all the national outfits in Eastern Europe, whether we talk about Ukraine, Romania, ex-Yugoslavian countries. They're all made out of hemp or linen, mostly hemp, in Romania at least. So I knew about it. Furthermore, in the place that I grew up, both my great-grandparents and my grandparents work in the communist cooperative, so they work undoubtedly with hemp. We even have a cânepiște in my place. Cânepiște comes from cânepă, which is similar to Italian canapa, cânepă, canapa, French chanvre. That cânepiște was the place special designated in the village where you cultivate hemp. And growing up with my grandparents, I knew about all these places. So I started to look into hemp fibers and hemp textiles. And I bought around 100 meters while I was there, thinking that I'm going to do something with them. And when I arrived here, I went with that fabric to a university gentleman that was kind enough to study it and to tell me that I actually got hand-woven cotton. So that was the first blow that I got from a Nepalese merchant, that I bought cotton instead of hand-woven cotton instead of hemp. And but I also looked while I was there, and I met this Japanese gentleman, and this Japanese was cultivating hemp for like 30 years, and he cultivated hemp in France, mid and end of the 90s when it started to be legal. He cultivated hemp in India. He cultivated hemp back home in Japan, and now he was cultivating hemp in Nepal. And as I was telling him where I'm from, he said that in 1991 he was part of a fair where there were hemp textile companies, and he said that the nicest piece of cloth that he touched was coming from Romania. It was a piece of Romanian hemp cloth. So he asked, "Why did you bother to come all the way here to find something that you can that you have at home?" So for me, that was a click. So it was like a bing, bing, bing. So when I returned back home in 1st of September 2018, in October 2018, 1 month later, I made this company. And since then, it's been a full-time job, basically working with just with hemp. We do not work with anything else. So we are not even like a clothing company. I would say we are a hemp company.
Yes.
Yes.
There are a lot of different strategies on how to make. They call it touche, the touche of the fabric with hemp, to soften it, and as I mentioned before, to make the replacement for cotton, because actually cotton replaced hemp, and now it's time again to replace cotton with hemp again. And as you lay out it is a question, and it's also philosophy of how to make the yarn for the fabrics, either from short fibers, long fibers. I'm also convinced that long fiber gives a wider variety of making different textile products out of it. So it's quite interesting that what you tell us about old machineries that still are effective and good to work with. And
yes.
We have also some solutions here in Turkey and trials here in Turkey to to get over the let's say it's a handicap, that the touch of hemp is a little bit harder. But as you said, I mean, I think Romania is a small market and China is dominating the market, and there are also good products from China. Not to deny that, but most of the products that are on the global market are hemp yarns from China, which are too hard. In the last conference, we talked with one of our tricot producer here in Turkey, and they complain about the hard material that they break the needles of their kitting machines.
Oh, so much. Yeah. Oh, yes, yeah. I know that.
So that's quite interesting. But what I would like to do now is we have a few people more on the line before we go to the third part into the discussion. I think we have 3 more people to talk and to introduce their work with hemp. I would like to give them the chance as well to be here, and then we will join you and all the other participants in this third round.
One last thing. So basically, it's also wait just a second. So for instance, I just want to do this as an let me see if I open this light. Yeah. So one of the disadvantages that when you work with long hemp fibers, right, you never create the same. How do I call it? A perfect. It doesn't look like polyester, right? It doesn't look like the same. The whole 1,000 meters are going to look all of them perfect. So for example, this is a jacket that we are making here. This is a classic denim jacket, Levi's. It's basically unlined. It doesn't have anything. It has big pockets, so you can put a whole book in it. But if you look very carefully, let me see if I can show this to the camera so people can look. There are slight imperfections on the fabric. It's not perfect, you know, and this repeats. It makes it in a way very unique. But at the same time, if you're not accustomed with those, right? If you're not used to have that, then you think it's a mistake. But we always try to explain, but this is not a mistake. This is basically what actually makes this plant and this fabric unique. So in a way, if you process hemp in the traditional way with long hemp fiber, every item that comes out is unique. You cannot make it the exact same, because some of them, they have a yarn problem here, other ones a yarn problem there, etc., etc. So that was all. Thank you very much for the time and everything.
Yes. I mean, it is that hemp is a natural product, so it is always unique. That's one of the challenges and one of the changes that we have to go through to underline that this is the transition of something new or something old, and probably we can put something new to the old to maybe bring new materials, new techniques to improve and to adapt the usage of hemp textiles to the consumers. But this is the way that we have to go, and we will have to work on this all together, I think. Thank you for this for now, but I hope to see you again in the third part over Google Meet, over the Google Meet link. And now we would like to go over in the program to Luis Liken from IsoHemp. He's coming from a totally different part of the application with hemp. Let's hear what Luis is going to tell us about their work they're doing. Welcome, Luis. Hello. I think we have a voice problem here. Maybe please check if your microphone is switched on. Oh yeah, now we hear you. Welcome.
You hear me?
How are you?
Okay, thank you. I'm fine, thank you. So yeah, I'm Louis from IsoHemp. I'm a company in Belgium, and yeah, we do something completely different with hemp. We're more in the construction industry. So the founders of IsoHemp. It's been 10 years ago. They had to do their final work at school, and they were looking for an interesting idea to start a company with. And they met somebody who told them that they could use hemp mixed with limestone and water to make hemp blocks to build and renovate houses with. They looked into the idea. They thought it was really interesting. And they started experimenting. It's a technology that's been used for a couple of decades, but always in a very craftsmanship way, just mixing the limestone and the hemp and the water in small crates. But they wanted to make to find a way to produce it on a more on a global scale. So they started the research and development phase, and after 2 years, they opened their first factory where they had a semi-automated way of producing these hemp blocks. Another couple of years went by, and they started scaling up more and more and more. And now we're 2022 already, 10 years later, and well, yeah, we have a big factory in Belgium where we produce 1 million hemp blocks a year that we use to renovate and build houses with all over the world, especially in Europe, Belgium, France, Germany, Denmark a lot as well, and a couple of projects in the United States, in England as well. So we've grown into pretty much an international business, of course, with the help of a lot of investors that we needed to get our factory started. So yeah, it's been an interesting ride the past 10 years. I must admit that I've only started working at IsoHemp 5 months ago, so I'm not a huge expert in the hemp industry or the construction industry either. But I'm happy to answer any of your questions. It's my first webinar, so I'm not really used to just talking to to a screen. It's difficult to have any interaction with you guys. So I'm not sure if anyone is familiar with hemp blocks or building with hemp blocks, or
Yeah.
I'm not sure what you already know or you would like to know. So
Yeah, maybe our viewers and listeners can ask some questions. Yes, we do some experiments, and actually I'm waiting for a colleague of mine here in Turkey to join. We already started some experiments with some different combinations to make this wonderful hempcrete product more carbon dioxide negative.
yeah.
That's one of our aims, because what we want to do is, of course, we want to do progress in the existing technologies to bring something that gives better answers to get more environment friendly products, which hempcrete by IsoHemp is a good product. Maybe you should tell us something about the advantages of using hempcrete instead of conventional building materials.
Yeah. So first of all, of course, as you said, there's the environmental aspect of the whole construction industry. There exist studies that prove that the construction industry alone, I mean, the concrete industry alone is responsible for 8% of the CO2 emissions in the world, which is huge. People don't really think about the construction industry as a polluter, but it's one of the main contributors to CO2 emissions in the world. So our product is one of the only building materials that has a negative CO2 impact. So for every cubic meter of our hemp blocks, we capture 75 kilos of of CO2 out of the atmosphere. We also, so for example, when you build a house, an average house takes out 5 tons of CO2 in the world, CO2 out of the atmosphere. And it happens in different stages of our production process. So first of all, of course, the hemp captures CO2. But then when it gets mixed with the limestone and the water, and when the blocks dry in the open air, it captures another huge percentage of CO2 out of the atmosphere. It has to do with a process called carbonation. I'm not a scientist at all. I just work for marketing, so I can't explain it more than that. But in average, we take out 75 kilo of CO2 out of the air per cubic meter of hemp blocks. So that's the first environmental aspect, which is also already a big player. But that doesn't really convince architects or entrepreneurs to work with our blocks. So we also we have a lot of other advantages that make living in a house that's renovated with hemp blocks much nicer than houses built with conventional materials. So first of all, it turns your house into kind of a breathing shell, because the hemp blocks, they take out the moisture that's inside the houses, and it also gives off moisture that it has captured. So that's the first. It's a hydro regulator. So houses built and renovated with hemp will never have any moisture problems because of these hydro-regulating properties. It's also thermoregulating. So the inner temperature of hemp houses stay relatively constant, even when it's really hot or when it's very cold outside. So you can reduce your energy bill with studies say 70%, which is a lot. So we've done a lot of studies to test our blocks, and even with an outside temperature of 38 degrees, temperature inside a house built with hemp blocks stays constant. Another, excuse me.
Yes, that is what I would like to add to what you to your words is, people have to think about that. I mean, people think that that the fiber, which is very valuable and in percentage to the plant's components, is lower than the chives. So the chives have this, as I said before, you have, with one goal you have two goals that you make. The properties of the thermic properties are quite interesting and may show an alternative for insulation with fibers, glass fibers, stone fiber, or even hemp fiber. So you make a wall out of hempcrete, and you automatically have insulated the building against heat and cold.
Exactly.
That's a wonderful thing, and I think that should make people think about when they build their house, that they are going to make savings while they build the house.
Exactly.
On the economic side.
Yeah, exactly. It's not just an environmental issue, because that would make it much harder to sell our product. But once we're talking with architects or builders, and we show them all the technical specifications of our products, they're immediately convinced, because they see that it's actually better than using conventional insulation materials. So it's just a way of trying to transform people's mindset that building with hemp is a viable solution to a lot of the problems and challenges that we're facing right now in the construction industry. So the environmental aspect is, of course, really important, but it's only one part of a bigger picture. A question I also get very often is, but don't they catch fire right away when there's fire in the house? And no, we also did a lot of tests, and because of this carbonation process, the blocks are kind of fossilized. So they don't catch fire. We've done tests that it takes more than 2 hours before the block starts catching fire. So 2 hours is more than enough to evacuate everybody from the building. And again, when they do catch fire, they don't emit toxic fumes as conventional materials would do. I've already did the test that I put a burner next to one of these blocks, and of course it gets heated up, but it doesn't. There are no flames.
It doesn't catch the fire.
Yeah, it doesn't get fire, and of course it smells a bit, but it smells like when you would light an open fire or something like that. So it doesn't smell toxic at all.
It's one of the very nice properties. Again, I mean,
exactly.
Usually people ask you, do I get high when I smoke it or burn it? So
yeah,
even if it's a question of a joke, it don't catch
I've heard all the
fires.
jokes.
As far as I know, it's in the German classification, it's A1, so it's very hard
A1.
getting fire.
Exactly. Yeah.
So I think that is one plus of this product, that you have a more fireproof house than with conventional building materials. If I see in the internal building material market, this is a huge advantage for it. And what has to be underlined is, of course, if you have a thermic insulation, you have also an acoustic insulation that comes with it.
That's the last point I wanted to. The last advantage is the acoustic insulation that the blocks have to offer. It really creates this kind of a cocoon vibe when you're in a house that's built with hemp, because it softens the acoustics in the room, not only inside the room, but also it protects from outside noise. So that's also a really big advantage over other materials. I've been in hemp houses, and then again, it really feels very cozy. The acoustics are very softened. So these are the let's say the 5 main advantages of building with hemp. So of course, ecologically responsible. It's good for the environment. The thermic regulation, the moisture regulation, then it's fire resistance, and the acoustic insulation. So those are the
yes.
So those are the 5 main advantages that we have for our hemp blocks. And of course, when you go to a website, you can find a lot of technical documents where you find where you can find all the technical specifications of our blocks. But they're all approved as well by the Belgian government. Right now, we're also trying to achieve the same in France. But it costs a lot of money to get our blocks approved in an official way. But it's something that we're working on. I don't know if somebody has any questions that I can, because of course I can tell a lot of things, but I would like to know if there are no... I didn't prepare a presentation, so I start talking without any direction. So if anybody has a specific questions, I'd love to answer.
Yeah, let's see in the Q&A if there are any questions concerning this new material, because as in Turkey, from the tradition, which I already told in my speech, is we have the tradition that we came from using the fiber, using the seeds, and seeing other alternative properties that this plant offers. But the chives were just used to heat the samovar, to heat the bread stove. And I think I think this product is as important as the fibers, as the seeds, and I think there are a lot of ways to put and make new products, innovative products. And I think the most convenient way to make a value editing to chives is producing building materials out of it.
Yes.
I see that you have some informations on the screen. Maybe we can have a look at that.
Information on the screen.
Oh no, this is the.
See,
Oh,
yeah,
no.
so hempcrete is really carbon negative. It's often claimed, but there are any. Yeah, we do have studies that back this up. I have to ask my colleagues to send those.
Maybe we can share this
it has all been
in the after show in our conversation. We're also going to share some information about the colleagues that couldn't join today. We had also an very interesting person, Robert Hertel from Hemp-based, who is producing clothes, but unfortunately he had technical problems to join. So we'll give their links so they can present themselves as well. But now I would like to, if you have the time to join us in the third panel, I don't know what your time plan is, but if not, you can watch it in the after show. You can watch it online on YouTube on the Billion Corporation YouTube channel. I would like to thank you very much for your contributions to inform us about your products. And I would like to invite now a special guest from the US, who is, I think, in Europe at the moment, Trevor Jan Grote, who is specialized on the economics of hemp and the effects. And he will tell a little bit out of his point of view about hemp, what he's doing in this field. Thank you, Luis, for for joining, and please enjoy the show.
Thank you.
And have a nice weekend. Thank you.
Same to you. Bye.
Bye. Okay. All right. Hi, Trevor. I hope you're fine. How is it going? Where are you right now? Where are you joining us? You said you have a problem with an unstable Wi-Fi, but I hope that we can have a chat about hemp and what makes hemp your position to hemp and your point of view to hemp. You can tell us a little bit about this.
Sure. We'll see how well my Wi-Fi holds up. So apologies if there are any problems. My name's Trevor Jan. I've been working in the U.S. hemp industry for the past 7 years now. I started back when hemp was still illegal before the Farm Bill. I worked for Vote Hemp as an intern on Capitol Hill the year before we finally got it passed, and so I've gotten to see the evolution of the industry over time, and it's been very exciting. I got into hemp originally because of the industrial side of the plant and the environmental promise of those products, and so the CBD explosion has been, it's a double-edged sword. It's great in that it's brought so much visibility to the plant, and that it's, you could argue it's the reason that hemp became legal in the US in the first place, but there's also this negative side to it where the association in consumers' minds when they hear the word hemp automatically goes to CBD and marijuana, which is something that the industry has tried very hard to get away from, but I don't know if we've made any real progress. So I'm in Lausanne, Switzerland, studying the circular economy at a master's program. So I'm still very much a student of the European industry. I'm here to learn as much as I can, but I can talk about, some of the mistakes that we've made in the US that maybe hopefully you guys can avoid.
Yeah,
sure. So my most recent job, I was a data analyst for New Frontier Data, which is a big data provider in the cannabis space in the US, and they hired me to start their hemp division. And we always looked at Europe as the leader in industrial products because you guys are the leader. You have been for 20 years. We look at companies like Hempflax and Dunagro and the very impressive things that they've accomplished. The barriers to growth for the fiber industry in the US, they always use this metaphor. They always use this metaphor for the hemp industry. They said there's this chicken and the egg problem, right? What comes first? The factories come first, or Well, now hemp is legal, and now we have people growing it, and now we have factories processing it. I mean, it's still very small, but they exist. And so the chicken and the egg dynamic doesn't hold up as a metaphor anymore. But what really is the barrier to growth, it seems, in the US is product development. So convincing companies that there's enough consumer demand that if they spend the money to refit their supply chains, to put hemp fiber into their products, that there's going to be enough demand to sustain that and to make it a profitable investment. And so one of the things that we should be doing a better job of in the US, but we haven't been so far, I mean, not everybody, some people are, by and large, there's not enough collaboration between established companies and hemp processors. Another problem I see in the US is that the interests of the CBD industry and the interests of the fiber and grain industries are not always aligned. And in many cases, they can even be somewhat opposed. So we have, some kind of like low-grade civil wars going on in some of these, industry groups we have, where the CBD guys want one thing, the fiber guys want something else, and the grain guys want a third thing. But we have to find some kind of balance. There has to be some kind of intra-industry collaboration where everybody's on the same page, because when we stick together, we can and bargain collectively, we're much more efficient. So I'm wondering, I mean, is it the same? Are you having this similar troubles in Europe?
We have similar troubles, but we have these the impression, and as I said in my speech, the CBD was a booster again. I mean, the European hemp industry, yes, it's old. It's over 25 years old, but the focusing in European hemp usage was more on the seeds, on the fiber, and on the sheaves. But it was not, as Amy Ansel, as I told about her TED talk, and I find you over the TED talk that you made in last year, is that the holistic use of it is missing as well in Europe. I once talked 3 years ago with a guy who was supplying Charlotte's Web, and he was complaining about the same thing. He was telling me that prices for CBD products are going down, and I think, and he has to reorganize his business just to stay alive and to use the stalk, the chives, the fiber, and the rest of the plant as well, just to have an economical profit out of this business. So I think that the lowering prices in the CBD sector are going to regulate the markets. I mean, these are the natural laws of the market. If the numbers go down, you have to reorganize yourself to bring new products, better products on the market. And I think the burden that the US has is that the history of hemp, and the US and the American continent has a very strong history about it. The whole economy in the 18s and 17s were built on hemp. And if you look at the situation now, that in the last 80, 70 years, people went to jail because they were in contact with hemp, this brings a totally different drive into the reaction and the development of the American market compared to the European market. If we hear about Ions, what he told about Romania, I mean, we had the Warsaw Pact bloc, which has a totally different development. If you look to Israel, which is totally independent of all the developments that were going worldwide. So we have different market developments, but in perspective to what is facing us now with the ticking time that we have with the 7 years, I think we have to make up our minds to really use hemp in a holistic way. And that's the challenge, I think, not only for the US, but as well for Europe. And so maybe you can tell us a little bit more about what the challenges will be for you, for the US market, since you have the data in the background.
I'm sorry, the connection. I lost the last 30 seconds of that. Can you repeat yourself?
Maybe you can tell us more about how this change in being a heavy CBD marketed leaded hemp industry or cannabis industry in the US, how this can change, or how the moves are. I mean, I know about Georgia Pacific that they're going to do some papers with hemp, which is to welcome, but there are also certainly other developments which you can tell us about a little bit.
Okay, I'm back.
Okay.
Can you repeat the last 30 seconds?
All right. So what are the developments right now? I mean, concerning how is the market going to merge from CBD to the wider hemp market, in considering industrial hemp as a product that could be evaluated?
Not entirely sure. I mean, one of the big developments that I'm focused on right now is kind of where the industry is going to get the capital to grow. There has been an imbalance in investments. All the money has gone to CBD, to the gold rush, and there has been more money lost in CBD than made. I mean, that's what happens when there's a gold rush. There's a peak and there's a crash because farmers can't earn $100,000 an acre for CBD forever. It's crazy. But there are a few. There have been a few attempts at some big investments. There was a $150 million SPAC company called Collective Growth that attempted to deploy all this capital into the market. What they found is $150 million 2 years ago in 2020 was almost. I mean, they had too much money. That was the problem. They couldn't deploy all of that capital. They couldn't find enough companies that were up to snuff investment wise that met all of the very stringent requirements that there are for a company to be acquired by a SPAC, and so they got kind of left holding the bag. There have been there's one other fund that it's run by some of the same people, called the Replant Hemp Fund, that just announced a month ago that they're raising over the next 10 years. They're going to raise $500 million to invest almost entirely on the industrial side, and I think that is a very positive development. It takes money to make money. You can't bootstrap a fiber production facility. You need many millions of dollars for these advanced pieces of machinery, and making sure that companies are able to get enough capital to make the capital investments that they need to make these facilities is a huge problem. It kind of goes into the product development question that I mentioned. So if you're Ford and you want to start putting hemp natural fiber composites in your vehicles, like BMW does in Europe, but you're making hundreds and hundreds of thousands of vehicles every year, you have an extremely complicated supply chain. You need to be 100% sure that the consistency of the products that you're getting is to the millimeter exact. And you need redundancies in case there's a bad year, in case there's a bad harvest, in case there's a fire at one of the factories, and you need scale, and it's going to take a while for the industry to get the scale, and it's going to take money for them to get there. So making sure that capital is available to fuel this industry so that it can get to the level that we all think it can get to is a huge concern.
Yeah, I mean, that is going to be a smooth transition to from the conventional products that are used, and most of the people, when I'm talking about 1.5 million hectares that we're going to plant within the next 24 months, a lot of people just say you're crazy. But talking to people from the industry is like when they see the potential and the abilities that you can have with sourcing hemp raw material to the industry, they ask for more, and extremely more than what the market is already producing. I mean, China has a huge number of production, but even China has not enough to source the whole world. So this is a question of a teamwork that we have to do, a teamwork in the knowledge, a teamwork in the production, and a teamwork in distribution. Because as our colleague from Switzerland told us, it's something that you have to do on regional clusters. And America is a big market, and America maybe, and I think that you're on the right way with seeing what the Europeans do right, to give impulses to the American market, to shape the market. I think that what we have when we're looking here from Turkey or from Europe, we have the wrong idea. We see America in all things as the country of undiscovered possibilities, but there are limits. I mean, with the Farm Bill, with what happened before, that if you travel with CBD from A to B, that you probably get caught by the police because it's illegal in one state and legal in the other state. So this is something that has to change and will be changed, I hope, with very fast, because time's running up, and we'll have to improve the industries on both sides of the Atlantic. So
Absolutely. I mean, to get to something like 1 million acres, I mean, quite simply, the economics have to change, and they could change quite quickly if the right regulatory atmosphere appeared. One of the frustrating things, from my perspective, is I look at something like hempcrete, which is an amazing product. It works. It's incredibly environmentally friendly, but it's expensive. It's so expensive compared to traditional construction materials. But the only reason that it's so expensive compared to them is because they get this invisible subsidy, because they don't have to pay for the environmental costs of their products. They get the more emissions that your product produces, the bigger the subsidy gets, because you're not truly paying for the environmental marginal cost there. So, I mean, if you raise the price of emissions, you raise the price of polluting, all of a sudden hemp products get a lot more attractive from a value standpoint, and all of a sudden farming makes a whole lot more sense, and maybe we can get to 1 million acres quicker. But the unit economics have to change for us to move, to really move forward.
I don't know what the US is doing, but in respect to what the European Union tries to do, I don't know how honest the European Union is with the Green Deal. And if I see to the I mentioned in my speech, if I see what IREC is doing and ISCC, we're going to hear also somebody from IREC in the following. The regulations are there, but there is no uniqueness in putting them through yet. There will be, because the need and the destruction that is made is so high that regulations are needed. They have to be forced through. And I don't know what the situation is in the US, what the legal side will prepare to avoid carbon dioxide. I mean, the US is one of the greatest emitter after China. So is there any work on the legal side to do something parallel to the Green Deal that the European Union is trying to perform?
It's impossible to predict, to be honest. I mean, this is my personal take. We're so divided right now. There's such gridlock in Congress. It's very hard for any major legislation to get passed. And it does not feel like the political appetite exists for major environmental legislation right now. Now, maybe that changes when things start to get worse and you look around. I mean, I've been looking at the heat waves in India and Pakistan this week. It's
we need some more
disturbing.
Katrinas over New Orleans that people wake up. I mean, it's unfortunately the truth that the human creature is react only in case of emergency. If their life is in danger, they start thinking about things to change. So yes, I mean, hard times are ahead. And this is something where we'll have to stand up and talk more about this to make people hear about the dangers that are really there and that they try to avoid. I mean, it's quite interesting if you see the film Don't Look Up. It just describes the situation in the society that people want to avoid trouble, problems, and catastrophes, even if they are right in the catastrophe. So yeah, it's something that we'll have to discuss. Maybe in the third panel, we'll now going to switch over to Can Aslan. He is representative of IREC in Turkey, and we like to hear from him what his work is formed and what he's doing and how this is combined with hemp and what kind of advantage his work will bring to the whole point of being more economic and more ecological. It was nice to hear from you. Thank you very much, and I hope to see you again in the third panel. Please use the Google Meet link. I will send this again to you, just to hear back from you and to have the expertise in the discussion round that we have in the third panel. Thank you.
Thank you, Eric.
Have a nice day. Yes, now I hope if Can Aslan is ready to join us.
Hi, Mr. Ercüment. Thank you very much for the invitation.
Hello, welcome.
Do you hear me now?
Yes, I hear you perfectly. Yeah. Sorry for you're already for a long time in the line, but I think the line is much more stable here in Turkey in the internal net countrywide than with the international connections that we have. So I would like, first of all, please introduce yourself and tell us a little bit about your work. And as you represent IREC, your organization, you may tell us a little bit about what you're doing, as IREC is getting more and more known in Turkey, as a lot of Turkish companies prepare themselves to be more on the green side of the industry. Please.
So yeah, my story starts actually in Turkey. When I was studying mechanical engineering, I was focused on the energy domain. Then I have studied financial engineering in the Netherlands for my master's, and I was focusing on more sustainable energy economics. Which was back in the time when I was writing my thesis, was like we have a top-to-toe energy model, which is very centralized. But when I completed my master thesis, there were already discussions in Australia and in the rest of the world about implementing rooftop solars, which were really costly 10 years ago. But what in my thesis, what we have suggested is that this decentralized energy generation would also change the market into a more efficient and more sustainable model. And later, of course, it took us 10 more years to come to this moment when I started Photon. So first of all, I would like to start with what we are doing in IREC and what we are doing in Photon. They are, in a way, working in the same area, but on the other hand, we are aspiring other technologies to implement with Photon. So what IREC does is it's a standard for renewable energy certificates. What's a renewable energy certificate? So in the current energy market, we receive our energy from electricity transmission lines, and electricity distribution lines, which is all mixed energy, including natural gas power plants, coal power plants, and also renewable energy power plants. And as an industry, if you would like to receive your energy only from renewable energy resources, and you would like to pay actually a margin on the top of the electricity prices, then you seek for renewable energy certificates. So what does renewable energy certificates do is that it's a tool, that it's an accounting tool that shows every megawatt hour of electricity that is generated from renewable energy resources, and no one can buy the same attribute more than once. So let's say 30% of the total national grid is generating renewable energy. So let's say there are only 30 credits, and if 30 industries require these credits, then the 32nd, 34th cannot find any more renewable energy certificates. So here is actually coming the philosophy that there is more demand for the renewable energy than there is enough installed capacity for the renewable energy. That is giving a signal to the regulators to build more renewable energy installed capacity in the nation's grid. So in one way, renewable energy certificates is an accounting tool. In another way, it's helping renewable energy investors to get an extra subsidy from the industries. And the third, this accounting model shows the regulators the demand of the public for the renewable energy. Do you have a question, or should I just continue? Okay, I'll continue. So that's IREC's work. And what we do as Photon in Turkey is that we are implementing IREC's rules in the Turkish market. So we are a local issuer. Our duty is to register renewable energy assets on the IREC system, and then we control, check the evidences for the energy generation, and we issue the renewable energy certificates and send it to the accounts of the renewable energy owners. And then on the top of that, Photon has built a marketplace where these renewable energy owners, asset owners, can sell their renewable energy certificates and find industries on the platform, the demand on the platform, and then they match. So this is one part, one Photon is doing at the moment, but this has been a very interesting meeting for me, because I'm always open to follow up other fields. So we have been also, IREC is lately very much interested in building a carbon sequestration standard. So I have been also involved in those discussions. Meanwhile, it's still not my expertise. But while I was listening the speakers, I was searching hemp and carbon sequestration topics, which is very interesting. And there, Mr. Ercüment, you have mentioned a few times that there is no one standard that is accepted all around the world, and every nation has their own regulations that makes things difficult for the hemp entrepreneurs, investors to account those credits into their cost models, payback models. But IREC is also building a new standard for the carbon sequestration, which would be very beneficial and could be worldwide accepted. So we are also working on that domain newly.
Yes. What is very interesting is that we in Turkey, we just started with the evaluation of carbon dioxide. I know from the trade ministry that they preparing rules how to evaluate the carbon. I think that is something that is totally out of the focus now. The power industry that works with photovoltaic power just get the taste of the advantages that they have, a very affordable and the most cheapest way to produce electricity. But they also have this plus that they can probably market their carbon footprint that they don't produce on the international and the national market, as Turkey has a huge growing number of carbon emissions in the last years. I think in 2021 we had 472 megatons of carbon dioxide emitted only by the by Turkey, which is a race. Unfortunately, it's not reducing. As also we have signed the Paris Protocol to reduce the carbon dioxide. I think this is a gateway where all the industries, if they transform, they can make this. And the photovoltaic is here one of the most important partners with hemp, just to keep the negative carbon negative and to produce a value-added world with alternative energies. And it is more than only the solar, it's the wind that we also have strongly growing in Turkey, and natural gas, biogas installations that also produce alternative energies. But I think the main focus and the most affordable thing is using the sun power for electrifying the industries in a positive way. So what do you think is the outlook that the Turkish state is going to do to enforce their movement to be more conscious about their CO2 output and how they can recalculate with the advantages they produce with the alternative energies?
So main driver at the moment is the global demand for the sustainable production. So we have seen much more impact of the renewable energy 100 group than the cross-border tax regulation from the European Union. Why did we see that effect? Because the Turkish exporters, they produce their products mainly textile for the European or global brands. And those European and global brands are seeking for the productions that have used only renewable energy. So we see a voluntary movement from the corporate companies that are asking their exporters to use renewable energy during their productions. And that is making a huge impact here in Turkey, that many of the textile companies are looking forward to procure only renewable energy. Other than that, we see also metal industries that are exporting to global automotive companies. Automotive companies are also looking for renewable energy procurement from their exporters. One thing about these emission calculations is that so there are three phases in the carbon footprint calculation. One of them is scope 1, is your main emissions that from your production, from your activities. The scope 2 is from your secondary consumption, which is electricity, gas, or steam that you use. So here you are not emitting, but you are consuming, and because you're consuming, those coal power plants are running for the market. So what we do, IREC is mainly focusing on the scope 2 emissions. What we do there is that you as an industry use this accounting tool to prove that you are procuring 100% renewable using certificates. But other than that, we are always, of course, recommending the industries to have on-site generation. But that's not always possible in every situation. The third one, the scope 3, is that it's not yet implemented by many companies, but we see this being implemented by these large corporate companies. What they do is that they are looking at their supply chain, and they also would like to take into account their supply chain emissions. And that's why actually on their supply chain, they at least want to have an impact on the scope 2 of their exporters. So we believe in the voluntary impact more than the regulatory impact. So here we have talked about only renewable energy certificate and where it lies in the scopes of emissions. But there is also another concept, which is carbon certificates, and those have two streams. One of them is regulatory carbon certificates. The other one is voluntary carbon certificates. If it is regulatory, then you should think about the EU ETS. So what does European Union do with this emission trading scheme is that for certain industries like cement industry or steel or aluminum or fertilizers, for these large industries, the regulators request to calculate a cap for their emissions. If they exceed their cap, then they have to buy certificates from the market. And who can sell on the market is also similar industries that didn't exceed their cap that was set by the regulators. So this is regulatory carbon market. And here, what you have mentioned, that Turkey is also trying to evaluate the carbon's value, that is depending on which industries will be involved in the regulatory market and what will be the cap, and then what will be the demand. These assumptions and calculation scenarios would give us a hint what would be the carbon emission price in Turkey, but we would expect the cap to be adjusted in later years, like it did in Europe. and would in the first 5 to 10 years be very affordable for the industries to build up and finalize their efficiency projects. And then because their cap is going down, the prices would go higher. The other concept, lastly, is the voluntary carbon credits, which is totally voluntary. So none of the industries are actually have to buy them or report them to any regulator, but we see a huge movement there this year as well. So why do companies buy then these voluntary carbon credits is mainly to show their social responsibility. For example, let's think about a hemp farm that is going to be invested on a field, and we have calculated how much carbon sequestration is going to make in 10 years. And then with this approach, we have calculated the amount of carbon credits, voluntary carbon credits, for this hemp field project. Then the project owner can sell these credits to a corporate for the financing to finance this project. So again, we see the voluntary carbon credits from the buyer side as a corporate social responsibility tool, and from the seller side, a tool for financing the investments, let's say. And these voluntary carbon credits are also taking off since last year. And we see a lot of big players like Microsoft, Google are also interested in looking at special carbon projects where they can calculate the impact for the nature, and then to support those projects directly. They do not invest in the project, but they buy their credits and then report it on their social responsibility reports, let's say.
So it's in a way, it's how we say, it's a kind of greenwashing that they do. They don't reduce their emissions, but they keep the emissions. Another example is, for instance, the financial backing up from Tesla with carbon credits, financing and getting paid by the US state for what they has saved with their electric cars. I think we have to change this trend because these certificates are needed really for industries, for heavy industries who must have the change, but the transition needs time and they need the credit to be able to go through the transition. That is something where we really, it's of course it's your job and it's the job of the administration to do changes there and to put a stricter framework to force people, as the European Union starts to do. That's one of the reasons probably why so many carbon certification demands start going, because it's getting more popular. If you see the carbon prices, we invited Christian Fleischer from EX, the stock exchange in Leipzig, to join us. Unfortunately, he wasn't able to join, but he would tell something about it, and maybe he would be enlightened to see the link that the potential of hemp is bringing through this sector. But he was telling about the value increase in the last year of the price per metric ton of CO2 on the market. It doesn't double, but it has a raise of 35%, which is tremendous. And so it also can be an asset. But actually, it should not be an asset. It should be something to support the change that we have to do. And maybe we should focus with our work on that. Yes.
So Yeah, there one important aspect is, like you said, this regulatory carbon certificates and voluntary carbon certificates are complementary. So if we are looking for immediate action, climate action, and we want corporates to take action, then we would seek regulations to show to decrease the caps on the industries and increase the carbon price, so then the industries move on the way to increase their efficiency to emit less carbon. But what does voluntary carbon certificates do? And is, yeah, greenwashing. That is in a way true if the company, so the problem is there, how this company represent their corporate social responsibility report? Did they show, as a company, we have emitted less carbon throughout the years, and plus we have done this project? Or do they just make marketing on which projects they support? So if they do both of them, I mean, if they are also gradually decreasing their emissions throughout the years and plus supporting projects that are helping the environment sequestrate carbon emissions, then it wouldn't be counted as greenwashing. So here we see that there are different roles in this market. One of them is the voluntary carbon standard. They are only focusing on how carefully they can calculate the impact of the project on the environment, qua how much carbon emissions they can sequestrate, and how they can really check the evidence for that. So this is what the standard does. And then we have project owners. These project owners are building a new project that is good for the environment. And then we have corporates and in between the traders. So something is missing here, which has a control on the corporate social responsibility reporting of the company, and actually telling the public what is greenwashing and what's not, and how it should be done, because the public is not well yet aware of these concepts. So we are seeing this last one as a role for Photon. We have to create more content, more information to the public, for them to understand what's greenwashing and not, and for them to criticize all this information, our voluntary carbon standard. Here is the regulatory market, and understand them, and also create a signal on the regulators to change in a way that we would like to see the impact on the climate change.
Yes, I think that the point of changing it from voluntary to be forced to declare the CO2 calculations of a company is of importance. I may thank you and welcome you to the third panel, and I want to have some remarks from Martin Glöti from Switzerland, who joined us before. He had actively writing about this, and maybe he can underline his point of view to this subject, because as an entrepreneur, he is probably very active in how to protect and work in a more sustainable way with avoiding CO2. please, if we can have Martin again, and there's also a question coming up.
Okay, sorry.
Hi.
That I was writing in the background. I was listening with one ear and I'm writing with the other end. Sorry. So I was getting nervous because of the discussion about the investors, collective growth, and so on. The noble Americans. I have my experience with them, and I would propose a subversive alternative, so that we are just going and build up the industry with what we have, with what is possible, and make it going and closing the gaps and completing the procedures with little scale at least, but providing the proof of concept on our own.
Yes.
And just leaving out the tiring discussions with, or the tiring search of investors. This is completely a different world. They have different rules and we are different kind of people. And this doesn't match as we heard from, what was his name? From Trevor, Jan, as we heard, this doesn't match. And from your discussion with Trevor, and why shall we call them if they don't like us? We do like ourselves and we know that we can make it without it. And once we are gone, they will be jealous or become jealous and try to catch up and to get in if we still leave them in. I'm not very sure whether we shall wait for them or whether we shall see how they go down and we come up. So it could be a systemic change, possibly.
Yes.
It sounds strange. It sounds subversive, but it could be the case exactly in these days that we just change system and we are building on an alternative which is not compatible with the current system. And why shall we wait for the current system while we are going with the new one? So that's one. That's one. And the other one I would like to go in is certificate is one point.
Yeah.
But all those which buy certificates and do their Excel sheets with plus and minus and compensate their minuses with the certificates for a plus, they also can invest in companies directly. They don't need certificates.
Yeah.
If they are invested in green companies like ours, they can fill the line in their Excel sheet and say we invested 1 million in that company which produces hemp, which produces the spinning mills, which produces whatever to produce a new raw material from crop to shop, as our Romanian or Belgian colleague said. And it would be good enough for their managers to show them the lines and to make them convinced, yes, we are invested in the green industries. So certificate is just an option, but direct investment can be the case and would help us to continue, or would help us to develop and to, yeah. So it's disruptive in thinking as well. It's not disruptive just in technology. We need to be disruptive in thinking as well. We need to get on distance to the old-fashioned systems. And talking about capital systems, we need to be disruptive there as well. We don't need these bloody guys, and they are bloody.
Yeah,
and we are mature on our own, and we shall be proud enough just to go as we are.
I think that you're totally right. I share your point of view. But as I said also in my speech, we have these embedded components. For instance, unfortunately, Robert Hertel couldn't join, but I'll share his 3-part video on YouTube. In the first part, he was telling about an investor that got embedded into his company and locked down the company for 8 years. So this is also the risk that you have with these greenwasher investors. That I call them greenwasher investors because yes, it's a danger. And until they don't get out of the parallel world of this old world where they just wasting and consuming the world to a world where they feed the world, they have to stay out. But at the end, they will realize that they have to change something. I mean, that will be the hard break that they have to do. What we offer is the soft transition. And people who want to join and who are honest to join, and this is a question where you have to ask the person who wants to join or the company who wants to join, are you really serious about your intentions or just playing? And we don't want the players. We don't have time for playing. With that, I'm totally with you, but it's also the question where to get the money. And I came to the point that I see that if, for instance, as I mentioned, 300 billion euros subsidies that went empty in the last period of the European Union budgeting, it is the question, do we have to talk to the state, and do we have to take the state more into forces? And unfortunately, the force is not the word that is convincing. Unfortunately, it's the burning forest, it's the floods, the droughts, the natural energies that are going to kill the population. This is the most effective and most striking argument. And I'm sorry to say that, but I think we're going to really get get hit much harder by the nature if we don't act. And those who had made up their mind, like you and me and other people who listen to us, we should just move forward without waiting for these guys. I'm totally with you. Thank you for your point. And I would like now to introduce Emrah Ashkin to you. It's very interesting what we are doing. We talked with Hemp ISO. We going back and forth because of our mixed program. But Emrah Ashkin is going to tell us a little bit about what he's doing. And I find it always really refreshing to cross the borders and change the disciplines and to see what other people think, how they can match with hemp in their work. And please, Emrah, welcome. Good afternoon. How are you?
I'm fine, thank you. It's very good to be with you today. Let me introduce myself and what's my works about hemp. First, I'm civil engineer. My professional area is building materials, and I'm working on natural materials in the constructions. In this point, I can say I'm working with hemp about 2 years, maybe more. I try to find a way to use hemp sheaves in our building system or construction systems. Why? Because hemp sheaves are 100% natural materials, and they have negative CO2 footprints. It's very good for natural our natural systems, as you know. So in my works, I can say that it is very effective material. It's water. It can be water resistance. It's very good insulation values and moisture resistant material. It's very comfortable more very high standards it shows us when we use it in our buildings. How we can use it? Of course, there are some different ways. Right now, today, we can use it as a block, wall block, or we can use it like hemp boards, like gypsum boards. We can use it as an insulation material. All of these variations, we are working on it right now with Ercüment Bey, he knows. We have some experimental studies, and it's going on very good. We get very good results, and we hope to very soon. We hope to use this sheaves as a construction material very soon.
Yeah, it was quite interesting to get the ideas mixed between.
Yeah, with earth and sheaves, right?
Yes. That was very quite. There are some other nuances which we will proclaim if we have made the standard tests here in Turkey. But it is quite interesting that you can do it without using limestone. Instead, you use natural earth, and in the calculation it is much more CO2 neutral. So and it brings the same properties as well, and you have a more natural and totally directly coming from the nature, the products that we use to do that. And with working with you and the group behind us, it is quite interesting to see the facets of architecture, of civil engineering in the construction sector, what is possible and what was undiscovered till now. And I think it's a huge sector, not only for Turkey, it's a huge sector for worldwide, to save CO2 and to get on the track to have a more sustainable environment.
Yes, I agree with you. And there are, I'm sure that by time we will find in different areas to use these sheaves, hemp sheaves in construction sector.
Yes, we hope that. So thank you for the informations that you put us together and told us. And I think we're going to meet in the second meeting. I think there are a lot of questions concerning your work, where you can meet all the other participants in this conference. I would finally end this panel with a video from George Popov, who is running the first European hemp and cannabis product stock exchange. It is quite interesting, and unfortunately he couldn't make it because he has a family date today. So, but we want to discuss, maybe we'll do that in the further program. Is that we want to talk about as running a stock exchange is of course it's important if you're just dealing with hemp. It's also to talk about how we can evaluate together with Can Arslan and maybe also with the expertise of Trevor and his market view on that, how we directly put the carbon dioxide saved in the hemp industry back into the in the cycle of reinvesting the CO2 into the investment of hemp products that are going in the hemp industry directly. So that is something that we have to respond to a later date where all of them are able to join. I hope they are interested in do that. So what I would like to give the stage to George and listen to him what he's going to explain how they are working. Thank you. Goodbye, Emrah. See you later.
Everyone, just wanted to give a quick introduction about our company, Can Exchange. Before I go into introducing the company, I'd like to give you a little bit of background of who we are as people. So the project was started by three of us. Two of us, myself and one of my co-founders, were ex-investment bankers, so 20 years combined experience working on global trading floors, working with various financial asset trading platforms, and experience of working with professional global commodities such as oils, metals, agro commodities, etc., etc. And our third partner is from the startup world, 10 years success entrepreneur and investor. And the idea started from the two investment bankers, and we saw that hemp and cannabis in general is in the process of becoming a global commodity. And from our experience of working with professional global commodities, such as the ones that I mentioned before, we understood that for something to achieve the status of a global commodity, there requires to be a professionally structured marketplace, where the primary purpose of the marketplace is to bring together physical supply and demand of the raw materials. And at the same time, the marketplace has to offer some very important ancillary services revolving around each transaction. We identified three very important ancillary services. So first and the foremost and the most important one is a viable solution, a viable payment solution using the traditional banking system. Two is some form of quality control for all the products that go for sale on the platform. And three is logistics management and logistics support. And basically what Can Exchange has done is taken all these elements and in combination with technology, put them under one roof. So quick walkthrough through the operational process. So before anybody becomes a member of Can Exchange, we take them through a KYC and due diligence process, where we ask questions about the nature of the business and also questions about the individuals behind the business, in order for us to get a complete understanding of who we're working with. As you can understand, specifically in the cannabis industry, this is really important due to the fact that historically cannabis trade has been illegal in the last couple of years, where there's been a global move towards legalization. A lot of the illegal businesses have found ways to make the business legal. However, the illegal DNA never goes away. And that's what caused a lot of the problems in the industry. Lots of promises and no delivery, lots of bad product moving around, lots of deposits taken, no product ever delivered. So our KYC gives you the initial degree of confidence that behind every user there is a legitimate business and legitimate businessman. As soon as you join the platform, if you're a seller, that's where the quality control element kicks in. All the products that go for sale on our platform go through a test with our partner lab. We're in partnership with 3 labs in Europe and 1 in the US. As soon as you get the certificate COA from our partner lab, you can upload your product onto the platform. It goes out in the market. Buyers can view all the information about it together with the COAs, and at the click of a button, order a sample or negotiate directly with the buyers prices and quantities. As soon as the transaction gets completed on the platform, that's where the payment solution kicks in. So we contact the buyer, he deposits the money required for the transaction to an escrow. We inform the buyer that the money is safe with us, and at the same time inform the seller that if he delivers what he's promised to deliver, the full amount of money will be released to him. At that point, we move forward to logistics. We organize or help organize all the logistics process. As soon as the buyer receives the goods, he has a reasonable amount of time to inspect quantity and quality. And as soon as he is happy with everything, he gives us the green light and we release the money to the seller. That's the general overall concept. You can find us on canexchange.eu. All our contact details as well are there. So anybody who is interested or has some form of interest in our product, feel free to reach out. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you everyone who made it today. Thank you all speakers for their mind-opening speeches. Thank you all participants for your time, patience, and interest in the matter, as well as our organizers for making it possible for today and bringing this topic into discussion. Our second conference is over now. Thank you for your participation again, and we wish to see you in our next conference in late June. The dates will be announced later on in our social media accounts. Have a nice day. Bye.